This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Good morning. We are learning more about the Food Task Force investigation and what exactly happened there. It'll shock you. The lights go out at Grand Lucayan. And Von Miller lying in state ahead of the state funeral scheduled for today. It's all straight ahead this morning. I'm Dwight Strachan, and this is Morning Blend.
Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. Don't you know that it's the start of the end of the old way.
Good morning again, Bahamas. It is Friday, October 24th, 2025. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Again, I'm Dwight Strachan. Also this morning, our Better You series, we are going to be talking about communication etiquette, WhatsApp etiquette. And are there rules? What are the rules? What should be the rules? Etiquette and habits this morning. We'll get to that. Later in business, we're kicking off a new history series and talking about national heroes. It's going to be interesting. You don't want to miss that. That's all ahead on this Friday morning. But first, it's time for the overnight, the latest breaking news from while we're sleeping, and the top national and international headlines this morning. In the overnight, Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Michael Darville, refuting F&M claims that unidentified bodies are still being stored in trailers following Hurricane Dorian, but admitted that there is one body currently stored at the premises. Darville saying of F&M leader Michael Pintard's information that it was, quote, completely incorrect, saying, quote, there is one body that is in a trailer in Grand Bahama. The circumstances of why that body has not been buried has a lot to do with some factors. Darville saying he didn't want to get into those factors, but he said other than that person, there are no other bodies as a direct result of Hurricane Dorian. Back in 2019, the hurricane devastated Abaco and Grand Bahama. In Dorian's aftermath, the minutes-led F&M administration was criticized by the public and the PLP for its recovery and rebuilding efforts, including the controversial storage of bodies in trailers for extended periods. On Wednesday, Pintard criticized Davis' administration, saying that there have been reports that bodies are still being kept in trailers over 6 years after the hurricane and nearly 4 years since the PLP took office. In January 2023, amid swirling reports from the Davis administration of impropriety on the part of individuals who had been involved in the National Food Distribution Task Force, operated under the Minutes administration during the pandemic, Susan Holowesko-Larson, who had served as the task force chair and had been vilified in Parliament by Prime Minister Philip Davis, was arrested and put into a cell. Up to now, Larson has not spoken publicly about the arrest in relation to a fraud investigation that turned up empty. She confirmed the arrest on Thursday when contacted by the Nassau Guardian and asked whether that rumor was actually true. Larson was also asked to respond to the Auditor General's report into the operations of that task force that was tabled in Parliament on Wednesday, belying the corruption narrative perpetuated by the current government. The Auditor General found that the task force fulfilled its mandate to ensure that no one went hungry during the pandemic and was able to account for all of the funds disbursed to it by the government, over $50 million. Asked whether she felt vindicated, Larson responded, quote, "Absolutely. We feel very vindicated. We've always believed in the integrity of our work and knew that we had to wait for this report to come out to publicly address what had been said previously and correct the record, more importantly." The electricity at the Grand Lucayne Resort in Grand Bahama disconnected briefly during a turnover process, but power was restored yesterday, according to a statement from the Office of the Prime Minister. OPM Director of Communications Trey Ramming giving the explanation yesterday after a local media station reported the hotel's electricity had been shut off by Grand Bahama Power Company, reportedly over unpaid bills. Ramming saying that the government advising that while there was a brief issue during the turnover process, the matter of the power supply at the Grand Lucayne has been resolved and the electricity has been reconnected. He said, quote, "This was a matter of reconciling utility bills attributed to the government and the new owners. There is no occupancy of the property and operations remain in transition as redevelopment efforts continue." A prophet and his wife will stand trial on sexual abuse charges next year. The accused, who are on bail, received a November 9th, 2026 trial date when they appeared before Justice Renee McKay yesterday. Their names have been withheld to conceal the child's identity. Prosecutors allege that the 45-year-old preacher molested his stepdaughter 3 times over a 3-year period. The man allegedly began abusing his wife's then 15-year-old daughter in 2022. And the molestation allegedly continued until February 10th of this year. Prosecutors say the child's mother participated in the sexual assaults on her daughter in 2024 and 2025. Former Royal Bahamas Police Commissioner Clayton Fernander has been appointed the Bahama Consul General to Toronto. Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell confirming this yesterday, saying he's confident that Fernander has the skills to perform well in the position. Fernander resigned from his position as Commissioner of Police last year after a New York indictment alleged that 3 members of Bahamian law enforcement, including 2 police officers, used their positions to assist Colombian and Bahamian drug dealers to smuggle drugs in the U.S. When he accepted Fernander's resignation, Prime Minister Philip Davis asserted that he was not implicated in any wrongdoing, but that the police force needed to change. And construction on the $4.5 million Abaco Hurricane Shelter and Community Center in Marsh Harbor is finally done. The shelter, located in Central Pines, is designed to house about 400 to 800 people, 3% of Abaco's population, during storms and other natural disasters. Officials hope to increase that by 10% in the future. Construction, ventilation, electricity, and running water are completed aspects of the first phase of the project. And the government signing on an $8.4 million contract with SJK Engineering and Construction for the construction of a new clinic in Stevenson, Cat Island. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael Darville said the new state-of-the-art urgent care facility will span 12,000 square feet, hosting 3 environmentally friendly buildings that are both weather-resistant and disaster-resilient. Overseas, U.S. President Donald Trump saying late Thursday that he was ending all trade negotiations with Canada because of a television ad opposing U.S. tariffs that he said misstated the facts and that he called egregious behavior aimed at influencing U.S. court decisions. The post on Trump's social media site, coming after Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, said he aims to double his country's exports to countries outside the U.S. because of the threat posed by Trump's tariffs. Trump's call for an abrupt end to the negotiations could further inflame tensions that already have been building between the 2 neighboring countries for months. Trump posted, quote, "The Ronald Reagan Foundation has just announced that Canada has fraudulently used an advertisement which is fake, featuring Ronald Reagan speaking negatively about tariffs. The ad was for $75,000. They only did this to interfere with the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court and other courts." Trump also wrote, quote, "Tariffs are very important to the national security and economy of the USA," in all caps. "Based on their egregious behavior, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated." Carney's office didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. The Prime Minister was set to leave today for a summit in Asia, while Trump is set to do the same Friday evening. And Tropical Storm Melissa stationary in the Central Caribbean today, with forecasters warning it could strengthen and brush past Jamaica as a powerful hurricane, while unleashing potentially catastrophic flash flooding and landslides in southern Haiti. The erratic storm was expected to drop copious rain on Jamaica and the southern regions of Haiti and the Dominican Republic throughout the weekend. The director of the U.S. National Hurricane Center in Miami, Michael Brennan, saying that the rainfall is a huge risk with the storm and that rainfall has historically been the biggest cause of loss of life of tropical storms and hurricanes in the Caribbean. Early today, the storm was about 165 miles southeast of Kingston and about 275 miles southwest of Port-au-Prince. It had maximum sustained winds of 45 miles per hour. We'll give you an update in just a bit. A hurricane watch and a tropical storm warning in effect for Jamaica and the southwestern peninsula of Haiti. Melissa is expected to slowly begin moving closer to Jamaica over the weekend. It's expected to strengthen into a hurricane by Saturday and become a major hurricane by the end of the weekend, possibly reaching Category 4 status by Tuesday. Forecasters say Jamaica's eastern region could get up to 14 inches of rain that could lead to flooding and landslides because the ground is already saturated from recent heavy rains unrelated to that storm. Schools, health centers, and government offices closed across Jamaica on Thursday, with authorities warning that all airports could close within 24 hours if a hurricane warning is issued. Up to 14 inches of rain also forecast for southern Haiti and the southern Dominican Republic, with higher amounts possible through Sunday. Melissa already blamed for one death in southern Haiti, and 5 other people in the country's central region were injured in flooding. The UN announcing Thursday that it's preparing for more than 100 emergency shelters in Haiti's southern region. All public schools across the Dominican Republic are said to be closed today, while government offices in 12 provinces under alert will likely do the same. In sports, Bahamians still basking in Valdez Vijay Edgecombe's historic NBA debut, again with the most points in an NBA debut since Wilt Chamberlain in 1959. You can read all about that in today's Guardian Sports section. Some unpleasant news from the NBA. The head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers and a player for the Miami Heat arrested Thursday along with more than 30 other people in a takedown of 2 sprawling gambling operations that authorities say leaked inside information about NBA athletes and rigged poker games backed by mafia families. Portland coach Chauncey Billups was charged with participating in a conspiracy to fix high-stakes card games tied to La Cosa Nostra organized crime families that cheated unsuspecting gamblers out of at least $7 million. Heat guard Terry Rozier, also accused in a separate scheme of exploiting private information about players to win bets on NBA games. The 2 indictments unsealed in New York create a massive cloud for the NBA, which opened its season this week, as you know, and show how certain types of wagers are vulnerable to massive fraud in the growing multi-billion-dollar legal sports betting industry. Both men face money laundering and wire fraud conspiracy charges. Also charged was former NBA assistant coach and player Damon Jones, who stands accused of participating in both schemes. More on the local sports scene. After completing his last season of collegiate eligibility with Campbell University Fighting Camels a few months ago, Bahamian freestyle wrestler Shannon Hanna II picking up right where he left off on the global wrestling scene. Hanna notching a 13th place finish in the men's 70 kilogram freestyle at the 2025 United World Wrestling Senior World Championships in Croatia. The 24-year-old admitted that he had hoped for a higher placement, but was pleased with how he competed against some of the best wrestlers in the world. You can read about that in today's Guardian Sports section. And from NFL Thursday Night Football, J.J. McCarthy looking quite healthy when he jumped to avoid Justin Jefferson on the sideline after the All-Pro receiver slid out of bounds following a catch. McCarthy was the emergency number 3 quarterback for the second straight game, while Carson Wentz took another beating during Minnesota's 37-10 loss to the L.A. Chargers. The Vikings are 3-4 for the season so far already, matching their total loss from last season when Sam Darnold filled in for McCarthy. That's sports, and that's the overnight. Time for your first look at weather. Weather brought to you by Star General. We've got hazardous marine and beach conditions expected to begin today and continue throughout the weekend. A near gale watch will come into effect for the Bahamas this evening and will remain in effect throughout the next few days. A small craft advisory is also in effect for all areas. Boaters, especially small craft operators, are strongly urged to seek and remain in safe harbor from this evening until further notice. So we've got a few things going on here. We've got a dissipating frontal boundary that continues to sag southwards across the northern Bahamas, and a few showers are along that boundary. But moisture associated with Tropical Storm Melissa in the Caribbean Sea will spread northwards across the southeast Bahamas and parts of the central Bahamas, and that's going to lead to cloudiness along with showers and thunderstorms. Meanwhile, increasing pressure gradient between the high-pressure system across the southeast United States and Tropical Storm Melissa will promote some fresh northeast to east breezes across the country. And that's going to bring occasional gusts to near gale force, especially in the southeast Bahamas. Everyone in the southeast and central Bahamas especially are urged to closely monitor the progress of Tropical Storm Melissa over the next few days. So again, we've got a severe thunderstorm risk, a marginal threat of isolated strong to severe thunderstorms across the southeast Bahamas, a moderate to high risk of rip currents along Atlantic-facing beaches, and flash flooding risk in the southeast Bahamas during heavy or prolonged rainfall events. So your forecast for today for most of the country, the northern, northwest, and central Bahamas, looking for partly sunny conditions during the day, turning mostly fair at night. Only about a 20% chance of isolated to widely scattered showers. Winds northeasterly at 15 to 20 knots, increasing to 15 to 25 knots by tonight, with near gale gusts likely at times. Different conditions for the southeast Bahamas, partly cloudy to cloudy, with a 30 to 50% chance of scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms. Winds easterly at 20 to 30 knots south of Inagua, with frequent near-gale gusts. Easterly at 15 to 25 knots elsewhere, with occasional gusts to near-gale force. Temperature-wise, for most of the country, look for highs around 90 Fahrenheit today, 32 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 74 Fahrenheit, 23 Celsius. For the southeastern islands, look for highs in the upper 80s, around 88 Fahrenheit, 31 Celsius. Lows in the mid-70s, around 75 Fahrenheit, 24 Celsius. We'll have more on Melissa and your outlook for the next few days, your weekend, and the start of next week coming up in a bit. This weather check, though, brought to you by Star General, insurance made simple. It is time for a break, but when we come back, we're discussing the day's top stories right here on Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9, your home for fresh news and smart talk all day.
This October, Bahama invites you to indulge your senses at the Culinary and Arts Festival, where world-class flavors meet breathtaking creativity in the heart of the Bahamas. Join us October 22nd through 26th for an unforgettable celebration featuring culinary legends Daniel Boulud, Marcus Samuelson, Dario Cecchini, and Simeon Hall Jr., alongside a vibrant lineup of Bahamian chefs and mixologists. Explore captivating art installations, interactive workshops, and live performances, all set against the stunning backdrop of Nassau's premier luxury resort. And don't miss an electrifying live performance by global superstar Lenny Kravitz, headlining the festival's welcome party on Friday, October 24th, with a concert experience you won't forget. This is more than a festival, it's a feast for the soul. Tickets and packages are going fast. Visit bahamar.com to reserve your spot at the Culinary and Arts Festival at Bahamar, where taste and talent take center stage. Bahamar, life spectacular.
At Cleveland Clinic, you set your course, not cancer. So when your journey takes an unexpected turn, you seek out the experts who've conquered it before, and you forge new paths to help fight cancers. For every route to a cure, for every care in the world. See how we're innovating cancer care at Cleveland Clinic today.
Looking to elevate your gadget game, or a tech trouble simply slowing you down? Escape to a world of innovation at Custom Computers, your go-to store for the latest cutting-edge tech. Whether you need to upgrade your life with the best from Apple and Windows, or your device needs a little TLC, the Custom Computers Know-How Store is the destination for unbeatable expertise and quality repairs. With 2 convenient locations, there's a Custom Computers near you on Patton Street in Palmdale and Caves Village, or call 396-1100.
Mommy, are you renting to Santa too?
You have Santa. I have CIBC Caribbean.
CIBC has sweetened the season, so you can bring your holiday dreams to life and wrap a new home or land with incredible cashback deals. Plus, your approved loan gives you a chance to win up to US $5,000. Apply now at www.cibccaribbean.com/sweeten the season. Terms and conditions apply.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. Don't you know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at MorningBlend969 or Facebook.com/MorningBlend969. Text us 422-4796. Standard text rate supply. Once again, I'm Dwight Strong with you on this Friday morning. Also this morning, our monthly series, our Better You series with certified life coach Farrell Goff. We are looking at etiquette, phone etiquette, WhatsApp especially, etiquette and habits, what you should and should not be doing. When is it inappropriate to send a message? To whom? All those things we're going to try to get into today, as it has become a primary means of communicating here in the country. We're going to try to figure out the do's and the don'ts. Later, we are kicking off a new monthly series, a history series. We're going to be looking at various issues that we need to not forget about and that have affected our lives and where we are and where we're likely to be going. And we're going to be talking about national heroes in a way that you might not expect, but looking at the holiday and just who is, all those things. That's coming up this morning. But right now, there is a lot to talk about in the news. And in the news, as we said, quite a bit to get to this morning. Very interesting articles in the papers today. So the big headline, the Nassau Guardian Food Task Force chair was arrested. We heard yesterday that the Auditor General, a report from the Auditor General, found that nothing inappropriate had been done, that everything was above board and all funds had been accounted for, very much unlike some of the claims made in the beginning of the Davis administration about misuse of funds. And so our candidate Dame was talking with Susan Holowesko-Larson, who headed that task force. And Larson saying she feels vindicated. I'll read a quote from her. She's saying, "We feel very vindicated. We've always believed in the integrity of our work, and we knew that we had to wait for this report to come out to publicly address what had been said previously and correct the record more importantly." The Auditor General had found that the task force fulfilled its mandate, ensuring that no one went hungry during the pandemic, and that it was able to account for all of its funds disbursed to the government or by the government, over $50 million. And, arrested. But again, vindicated. Just really interesting. You've got to read about this in today's Nassau Guardian for more on that story. So it's also in the Tribune, too, and they've talked to former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis. Minnis is calling now for Prime Minister Philip Davis to apologize for what he said were baseless attacks on the program's integrity. Minnis said, quote, "I think the Prime Minister should apologize. They've impugned her character." Speaking of Larson, they've impugned many of the NGO's character, or at least organizations. Dr. Minnis also questioned, he was also questioned during the investigation, according to this article in the Tribune, and saying that he had full confidence in Larson, describing her as the ideal choice to lead a potentially independent effort to feed Bahamians in crisis. Minnis said, quote, "While I'm not perfect, no one can accuse me of being a thief." Okay. All right. So again, it is fascinating stuff. You got to pick up today's Nassau Guardian to read more on that. Wow. All right, so I want to get to what Minister of National Security Wayne Munroe is saying about the murder of Lauren Saunders and her unborn child. We can get to that in a bit. Very interesting comments coming from the National Security Minister on that and the death penalty. Some very important things that we have questioned and many members of the public have been wondering about. I think you got your answers, and you might not ever need to ask it again out loud, but you might want to ask your MPs and the ones coming around hoping to be your MPs about that. We'll get to why I'm saying that in a bit. But there is another interesting article in the Tribune today, and I got to read a bit of this. All right, so the headline, "Court Beyond Belief, Valley Boy's name hijacked." Huh? The Court of Appeal condemning the saga of the Registrar General's handling of the Valley Boys Group registration. So they're writing that the Court of Appeal has condemned the Registrar General's handling of the Valley Boys Junkanoo registration saga, describing it as beyond belief that a group of unauthorized people could hijack the name and legacy of one of the country's most iconic cultural institutions without proper scrutiny. The appellate panel granted leave for the longtime leadership of one of the Valley Boys groups, the world-famous Valley Boys, headed by Brian Adderley, to challenge a Supreme Court decision dismissing their bid for judicial review. The justices said the lower court had failed to appreciate the seriousness of the issues raised and that the public importance of clarifying the Nonprofit Organizations Act of 2019, I guess, is needed. The panel concluded that the appeal raises, quote, excellent prospects of success, and that the proper interpretation of the NPO Act should, in the interest of justice, be reviewed. The court's language was unusually strong, saying, quote, it is beyond belief that a group of, where does the story go? Okay, I think I've got this a little off here. Not quite jumping to the right place. Anyway, but basically saying that a group could have gone to the Registrar General and essentially hijacked the well-established name of an existing nonprofit Junkanoo entity, its logo, and public identity by obtaining registration under the Act. The appellate judges said the record appeared to show that the people who registered the Valley Boys Junkanoo group in September 23, the Way Forward group led by Trevor Davis, were neither the original founders nor authorized by the widely recognized leadership. They pointed to troubling evidence that the constitution of the new group was filed nearly 3 weeks after its registration and that its first board meeting took place 6 weeks later, saying that it was clear signs of a failure by the Registrar General to perform due diligence as required under Section 7(4) of the Act. They said, quote, these matters, the court ought to have alerted the learned judge to the real possibility that the Registrar General may not have completed or complied with the statutory requirements before granting registration. So the immediate implications of the ruling are unclear, but could be far-reaching. Youth Sports and Culture Minister Mario Boleg has used the lower court's ruling that favored Mr. Davis's group to justify not giving Mr. Adderley's group seed money for the upcoming holiday parades. The dispute stems from a deep internal rift that emerged in 2023 with the Valley Boys, founded in 1958 by the late Gus Cooper. The group, one of Junkanoo's most celebrated names, had been led since 2014 by Adderley. After decades of competition in the A category, a faction calling itself the Way Forward, including former members Davis and Michael Foster, accused Adderley's team of mismanagement and alleged noncompliance with the NO Act. They then applied to register the Valley Boys Junkanoo Group as a nonprofit organization in September 23, effectively formalizing a new entity under the name. Soon after, the Adderley-led group registered a different nonprofit, the world-famous Valley Boys Junkanoo Group, to preserve their identity. When the Registrar General later directed Adderley's faction to change its name, threatening to strike it from the register because it so nearly or so clearly resembled the rival entity's name, the longtime leaders filed for judicial review. Justice Darren Ellis of the Supreme Court dismissed the application in March, ruling that the Registrar General had acted lawfully and lifting an injunction that had temporarily prevented her from removing Adderley's group from the register. He also ordered costs against the group. That decision, according to the Court of Appeal, quote, appears highly questionable. It faulted Justice Ellis for overlooking the apparent irregularities in the Registrar General's process and for failing to recognize the arguable public interest questions raised by the dispute, saying, quote, the issues raised, including the former interpretation of the Nonprofit Organizations Act, should, in the public interest, be examined and clarified. The judges said that the appeal would explore whether Parliament intended the failure of an existing unincorporated nonprofit to register within the Act's 90-day window to result in loss of rights, and whether the Registrar General had an implied duty to verify that applicants were legitimately authorized. They stressed that the original Valley Boys, long recognized by government agencies, including the JCNP, the Junkanoo Corporation of New Providence, and the public, had been issued a business license and taxpayer registration in 2015 and held a government lease since 1996 for their Claridge Road shack. They said these facts made it untenable that a new unauthorized body could simply take over its identity. The court also warned that the Registrar General's approach risked undermining vested rights and intellectual property protections in group names and logos that have accumulated over decades of public use. Wow. So the ruling reopens the Valley Boys leadership dispute and allows Adderley's team to pursue a full appeal. While the court refused to grant a stay on the lower court's orders, it described the case as one of exceptional cultural importance, noting that its outcome could affect how all Junkanoo groups and all other nonprofits are treated under the law. Okay, big stuff there. Let's get your reaction to that. I'm sure some of our regulars are chomping at the bit to respond to this. What do you make of that, folks? It is nowhere from being over. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Call us toll free, 242-300-5720. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. Wow. Okay. Let's begin with the phone lines. Let's go to those, and we'll get your text messages are coming in. We'll get to those in just a bit. What say you on this? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Dwight, good morning. How are you?
I'm well. Good morning.
And anyone else?
No, just me today. Just me today.
All right, Dwight. Just for clarification, the article that you read so ably from, was that from today's Guardian edition?
From the Tribune, yeah, today. Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Yes, from the Tribune today.
Okay, that's why I'm not seeing it. Okay, thank you. I want to clarify that. And then I have another question that you might be able to answer. The reference to the arrest of the chair of the food distribution organization, what was the arrest in conjunction? Was it related to the same story we're reading today?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was there charges filed or just released?
No, so obviously not. But they took her into custody. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So today's Guardian and Tribune combines substantive issues on major level. First example, this ruling with the Junkanoo groups. When I saw that late yesterday, I was gasping. And now this morning with the response from the food chair being vindicated even after being chastised and in some ways borderline having her character severely maligned by persons in government.
Yeah. Do you agree with the former Prime Minister that she's owed an apology from the government, especially the Prime Minister?
If I agree with him?
Yeah.
I think that is a small act considering what we're seeing. It should... The outcome that we are looking at based on the auditor's report compared to the actions of the persons in government, I think a clear message should be sent, because many times our politicians on both sides of the fence, in my view, seem to shoot first and then aim later. Mm-hmm. And as leaders, they set a bad example for people at the bottom. You can't just go after people's character and other hard-earned reputation just because it's a good political football for you. And she was not in the House of Assembly and obviously didn't have the ability to defend herself, which even made it worse. So I think more should be done because it has to stop. You cannot use Parliament to take advantage of the ordinary people's reputation. Yeah. Okay. That being said, Dwight, let me just quickly comment on the Junkanoo issue. Mm-hmm. There's so much to be said. I just want to talk briefly about the section where the judge says that the actions of one of the justice threatens severely how nonprofit organizations and intellectual property, is handled or treated going forward. That is very, very, very serious. And I think that, I don't know if the judicial review is going to come up, but the public needs to pay attention that, you remember we've always talked about our concern with how our justices or our judges act in certain matters and whether or not the decisions that we see them make, as the public, we've always responded in a curious way that, why these actions and why they're aligned the way they're aligned. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a very, very good case. I mean, first of all, he said, why didn't you look at the information from the Registrar General? That was lack of due diligence and on and on and on and on. So the questionable nature that this ruling puts over the actions of our justice or our justices says volumes, and I hope that it just doesn't stop here. God knows what this implies for other cases, but it's a very, very serious day in the halls of justice in this country today, Dwight.
Absolutely.
Very, very
Thank you very
serious.
much. Thank you. Let's take another call. Good morning, caller. You're live on the air.
Morning, Dwight. How you doing?
Doing well.
Dwight, I agree wholeheartedly, 100% with all of John's sentiments this morning. There's nothing that I can add to what he has expressed so adequately and eloquently. I believe that the question marks on the suspicions that persons out here have had off, and sadly to say, off our judiciary operations. It's sad to say it, but hey, we have to call it for what it is. It also calls into consideration now, should this food situation, the person who has been accused of things, even though charges have not been brought, you have sullied the reputation to a point and the name of the persons involved in this process. I'm trying to figure out, should these persons now decide to sue the government? Because now you're talking about the reputation of someone. You don't know the far-reaching damages to their names and reputation. Would it be now the taxpayers now to pay this, or would they go particularly at these persons for deliberately and directly sullying their names? I mean, every time it seems that these things come up, that the taxpayer has to pay. How about directly going after these people for any compensation for the damage that they have done? And then lastly, the junk news situation, again, another big thing. And I know a couple of persons are going to call to defend this thing, but we all out here have been questioning the movement and the timing of this situation. It's just sad. But we looking to see the outcomes of both of these cases now, seeing that they have taken front page and have taken center stage of our conversations today. But thanks for taking my call. I'll continue to listen.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Let's take another call.
Hey, good morning, Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, and good morning to your guest, William Richard. Hey, Dwight.
By the way, just so everyone knows, you need to pick up today's NASA Guardian. Susan Holowesko Larson has written a very long piece in there about it's titled "Correcting the Record on the National Food Program." So, in her own words, you can read what she has to say in there.
Yes, Dwight, I think that is so unfortunate the way we govern in this country. Because like the guys them said before, right? We have seen these type of trends taking place in this country by our politicians, right? They say things just to get brownie points, right? But and don't worry about the consequences of or the circumstances that they put on people. Something needs to be done with that, right? Because I don't believe you should be exempt in the House of Assembly just to say whatever. And most instances, these gentlemen, they know what they are saying, and sometimes are not true.
Well, those are the rules. That's how it is now. So
right.
You think it should change? That's what you're saying?
Yes, I think it should change. Because I don't think you should be, not because you are in the House of Assembly, you should be allowed to speak non-truths, especially when you know that is not true. But because you know that you are exempt from being prosecuted for speaking non-truth, they speak it. And all of this is the part, in my view, of the status quo governance what we continue to see, right? Mm-hmm. Because it appears that nobody really want to upgrade the governance that we have in this country, right? We have people looking around the world, looking at the way our judiciary works, and some of them is mind-boggling, right? We always talk about the murders in this country and how much you have a little guy on the road with then kill 5-6 people and he's still on bail. What are we doing in this country, right? And then the John Canoe Dwight, right? That's another situation where we see our leaders or our courts are taking making emotional decisions rather than decisions that are, that stands with the law, right? Because the Privy Council, in my view, just explained us that was an emotional situation.
Court of Appeal hasn't gone to the
Court of
Privy
Appeal
Council yet.
Right? They that was an emotional situation that really wasn't nothing to do with the law. And we just see a lot of this type of rulings handed down inside this country, emotional rulings, and they are not a part of the law. So I'm hoping and looking forward in the near future for, somebody to take the bull by the horn and start and really put really true governance inside this country to the point that, payments can feel safe knowing that their judiciary or their government or their parliament is not there just to discredit them at the first chance they get.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
Well, I hear you. Thank you very much. It's going to be a challenge. All over the world, folks are having those issues, but the response is critical, and that's the thing. Let's take this call. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes. Good morning, Dwight, and good morning to Wild Bahamas. Seattle Johnston.
Good
Dwight,
morning.
they say honorable men will never say in the House of Assembly what they wouldn't say outside of it.
Wow.
So you have to begin to question it. But essentially, both this and the patent has what is called international impact on us. Essentially, what we have done in the past, more specifically with Ms. Larson's case, is we have taken the position that we'll hang them today and have a trial in the morning to see whether they're innocent or not. And essentially, it's been a process that has destroyed us and has created a form of partisan politics. Now, clearly, the prime ministers and those within the office, and this is why we have to begin to question the competency and capability of the civil service. Not in the extent. The question is that these individuals run these programs all the way down, not in independence, on a weekly, monthly basis. There's reports being made, financial report, or should have been made. Financial reports and updates should go along all of the time. So it's surprising that individuals, 5-year celebrities who come in that has no historical record what has been done, then comes to a conclusion and then begin to search for evidence to support their conclusion. We have to change that. But Dwight, I want you to understand that this Junkanoo decision has international ramifications. Anyone who watched the House debate on the 15th of this month, where they talked about data protection, data privacy, intellectual property, all of these things. And, yes, they all read from the internet. But, and I want, right, don't take this as political because it's very important. You could watch the whole speech and the one that was made by Michael Pintard. Even though he addressed the data thing, he spoke about these very things concerning the Bahamas moving towards this AI data digital environment where we move to protect these different things, begin to come a jurisdiction, to bring laws in order, to do all of these things that is happening. And why? Because there's a concept called patent trolling. And essentially where you take names, this is $1 billion, patent trolling is $1 billion business. Where you take patents or variations of patent, and you can go to Amazon and look and take down things because it sounds familiar, or you begin to do something and it takes hold and they see that you didn't protect yourself or whatever, even though you'll be protected by trademark, by use and everything else, then it becomes a legal maneuvering where they tell you, J.C. Allen, I see you technically own this. Give us $5 million and we'll go away, or we'll give you hell for the next few years while your product dies. And so we are living in the world of data. We're living in the world of intellectual capital, all of these things. It's the new world of the 21st century. And the Bahamas has a unique opportunity. But even when with the judges do and whatever, it's because we don't have laws being created by people that understand the digital reality that we live in, and they are seeing our laws as analog. When we must have minds that allow us to see the new digital reality of the 21st century we live in, where even decisions made in analog could impact the greater global economy, which is now digital.
Okay, all right, great points. Thank you very much. Let's get some more calls in. Let's get your Junkanoo reaction. Caller, good morning. What say you?
Good morning, Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
And good morning to listeners all over the world. Papa here. Dwight. Hello?
Hi. Yes, we're listening, Papa.
Okay, I was saying that, what the name of the what you call them, justices, judge, or the magistrate, them with the Tribune information about the Junkanoo group. I think you said that's the Court of Appeals.
Court of
Did
Appeal.
you get any names of them? I want to say something.
right.
Why don't you look for the names of the justices
right
or the
here.
judge? I think this, not just this time around, a lot of the callers, them and people opinion when you go on the streets and you talk to people, like we was on the right side of the law. I sound like you said earlier that this is far from over, right? Well, I would think like this is the right ruling and just what this judge say, or these justices. I don't know if it's one person in the court of
Justice
appeals.
three. It's always a court of three. Always three. So it's Justice
So
Evans.
obviously you have the names.
Justice Evans, Justice Crane Scott, and Justice Hilton.
Hilton, 3 men, right?
No. Crane Scott is a woman.
Okay, Scott. Okay, man, okay, they right on target with the ruling. Far as some of us concerned, we say like the way how they gone about it, it didn't seem right. It's like they could have sit down as adults and people when it come down to the culture who say, oh, both of them, all of them, I think they care about John Canoe and really love John Canoe and the culture. It's just the way they gone about it. Like I don't know if it's one particular or 3 of them say what they mouth that it's like you could imagine someone hijacking a person.
Well, there you go. So you
you
see the benefits of the system, even though we have lots of issues. The benefits of our legal system. So you have one court that rules something, but it can go to the Court of Appeal.
Yes.
And if you don't like that, you can take it to Privy Council. Right. So there's always recourse, and that's the beauty of it.
Yes, it's recourse, is right, but I mean, come on, you're adults. You could do your recourse, right? But I mean, this thing, John Canoe, right? Because Fox, you can say like they was kind of messing it up. Dwight, a lot of us come. All right, you see one of them say like you hijacked the thing up. We say it seems strange. If they love it, they're supposed to sit down and try to deal with it better. John Canoe season coming up in a couple months or a couple whatsoever, right? And it's like it's still confusion. So we should just, I don't know, we like you say, it's more they could go on doing it, but it really don't make no sense. And then, we say that's the Prime Minister, our brother and all that. And that's how we feel about Fred Scurry, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and this present Prime Minister with this particular party. Some of us who either support us or whatever. It's like they hijacked the party. And in the last 4 years, this is what they been doing. That one with Jeff, that's John or Sean who started. He was right on target. The one who named Jeff, the caller, I think he said it right because that's what I think. Man, look here, I don't think the Hollow West go whatsoever. I agree with what the court say about them, but they don't need our money. But it should be personal. Whosoever be running on in Parliament, but people whatsoever, we need to stop wasting our money. We need it for hospital. We need it for so much things, medicine. I mean, people can't even get paid on time. And you're talking about, but they should sue them personal when if the Prime Minister run on and discredit that woman or whosoever the person is all the West go, he should pay personal. And there should be some kind of process he could go about doing it. But they don't need to sue, but taking more money from us. We can't even pay people on that. Excuse me. Keep up the good work.
Okay, Barbara, just breathe. Okay, that was a lot. Wow. Okay, let's take one more call and then we'll get to your text messages. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Dwight. How you doing?
Doing well. Good morning.
Yeah, again, Dwight, we're on the right side of history. This one, I remember using the term hijack. And I always said that, in respect to the minister, only him one would have really got damage in this. But it was always a small grouping of persons who would have, and the Court of Appeal was being nice to them, because they said emotional, but it's more political than emotional when you look at the small grouping of persons and their political connections. But this never should have happened. But we could have seen it. Blind Blake could have seen basically what was going on, with respect to after the Junction JCNP took a stance with the world-famous Valley Boys. You see what was going to happen to them with the legislation, then the seed money being withheld from all sorts of stuff that's going on with that. But it was a proper ruling. It's a proper ruling, and maybe what just using John Canoe terms, Dwight. Perhaps what this small grouping need to do now is to be forward is use the John Canoe term. Just say you're sorry and mean it. That's what we say in John Canoe. And then let's have John Canoe so we could all enjoy ourselves during this festive season. But just a small fix, and I don't think it's really far from over. It's just a matter of them taking it back to court and the lower court make the proper ruling and move on.
Okay, I don't know if it's going to be that simple, but I hear you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I might want you to call back when we talk about something something I know that's close and near and dear to your heart. But let's read some of these messages. All right, so we've got quite a few of your text messages coming in. Surprised we haven't heard from Grammy Boy. I wonder Where he is. This person says here, all the original Valley boys know exactly what's going on within the group. Unfortunately, due to in-house conflict, a certain crew decided to undermine and come up with a way forward. I think everybody knows about that. This person says here, I read the audit report, the Auditor General's report. First, it was a performance audit and not a financial audit. In the same audit report you are referring to, it stated that personnel, I guess you're saying, from the feeding program didn't keep proper records. It was after Prime Minister Davis made statements in the House of Assembly that money was returned. In my opinion, Ms. Davis has absolutely nothing to apologize for. How many other people get locked up during an investigation and released after nothing was found? Okay, interesting. This person says here, Prime Minister Davis said, hands for hunger. Okay, I don't think I can go there. Talking about a previous caller. If the Prime Minister scandalized her name, why doesn't she sue him and the government? We make everything so political. One person for sure could sue. So this ain't the first something like this has happened. Okay. Anyway, this person says here, if you recall, I asked you if no, I'm not gonna read this out loud. What are you doing? But yes, it's bigger than Junkanoo, as the Court of Appeal said. Anybody could take anybody's name, and if you just allow it to be like that, and this is why we need to have a real, frank discussion about intellectual property. And of course, we told you about a seminar that is coming up in a few days, so everybody needs to be a part of that, indeed. The text just says, I totally agree with C. Allen. Okay. This person says here, Junkanoo is big business. It has changed over the years. Bleachers, tickets. How is it at this late stage we are arguing over names and who has the rights to names? All of this should have been documented, copywritten, and due diligence like that. No, it's not that simple. Not that simple at all. I don't know if you've been paying attention to this. It's a little more complicated than that. But yeah. This person says here, we Bahamians are experiencing the end result of a mistake made 50 years ago when you let hundreds of thousands of pregnant single foreign women invade your country with opposite beliefs. Where is this coming from? Out of nowhere today. Wow. Invading our country, and do we expect a different country? Are Bahamians running this country or foreigners? Hurt people. Facts. Okay, thank you for that random text. Thank you very much. Let's say one more call, and then we've got to take a break. Good morning, caller. You are on the air.
Good morning, Grammy boy.
There you are.
Grammy boy.
There you go. Speaking, he shall appear. Okay.
Huh?
I hear. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, that's powerful.
Yeah, but let me first of all, I respect and love my boy Cleaver, but I'm taken aback by the fact that when he calls, he always makes this thing political. It's not political, Cleaver. That's no true. You're talking out your head, buddy. You understand? Now, those judges were they was right on point, but they were predominantly foreign judges, so they don't understand.
What are you talking about?
Intricate, one of the judges are foreign.
So how is that predominantly? How is that predominantly if it's one?
Because he don't understand when me and Dwight shoot marble, exactly the terms me and Dwight used. They was using things like
one out of three.
Right?
No. 1 out of 3. But again, this is a pretty simple case. You don't think so?
Yeah, it was straightforward. But they checked. What they did was they chastised the Registrar General for the handling of it. And I will explain to you what they need to do if they don't understand the ruling. They need to get one lawyer and sit down with them.
Who, the judges?
Chastising the Registrar General for helping to cause this confusion, because after in 23, when the Way Forward did the application, first, how in the world they was able to allow the world famous to do the application afterwards? You see, you got to read that ruling and read it right now. In order to hijack something, Dwight, you have to have leave that vulnerable. You see, and in their ruling, they did say that the world famous did their registration in 2015. You know what year this is? Okay, so you got to read them things closely. You understand now that the kicker in all of this is the appellate court did all of that bashing of Dwight and Grammy Boy and stuff, but they ain't changed nothing. See, you got to look at it. They did not overturn Judge Thingham's ruling. It remains the same. See, that
they're
is
saying
what
it
you
must
gotta
go
do.
back. It's got to go back to the lower court.
Well, they give them the option to go back.
Well,
I don't know how financially
give them
feasible that
the
would be
right
for them.
to go back. Yes, to
Pardon
have
me?
the right to go back. Yes.
Yeah, but you could call it right to go back, but if you done broke, see, because now what the appellate court, what people didn't see, they awarded the other people involved costs. So when World Famous then pay that cost, I know if it could be feasible for them to go back all over again to the same judge where the Registrar General and the Attorney General rules don't change.
Well, maybe
See,
I don't know. Do they rule that they give the money back until it's settled? I don't know. I have no idea.
Pardon me?
Maybe they ruled that they give the money back until it's settled.
No, they got to pay costs.
Well, you know, as they said, this is bigger than Junkanoo. It goes to all intellectual property and maybe some decent lawyers. That's still a thing, right? We'll take them up and represent them for the good of everybody, not just Junkanoo.
Well, Dwight, I know the rules don't change. When it comes to if you let your name lapse for 3 years, that the Registrar General can't change that. Now, they have the option to go back, but I don't know how feasible that could be, Dwight. And they got to go back to the same Supreme Court. So, you know, it is what it is, right?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Oh, boy. This is going to be interesting. We got to go to a break. Let me read these messages as we go to the break. This person says here, where can I find the ruling? I'm an information intellectual. What? What's happening? Well, I don't think. Anyway, it's on their website, the Court of Appeal website, courtofappeal.org.bs. courtofappeal.org.bs. You can read all of their judgments there. Pretty decent website there. And so I'm being reminded, the intellectual property seminar is tomorrow. It's tomorrow, 10 to 2 p.m. at the University of the Bahamas, the lecture hall. You want to know about the intellectual property seminar? Yes, tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the lecture hall at the University of the Bahamas. The Intellectual Property for the Orange Economy, a 4-hour seminar tomorrow, 10 to 2. Okay, again, everybody clearly has got to be a part of this. This text as we go to the break, more crackhead games. The Prime Minister's accusations in the House of Assembly against Hollow Wesco are a sad reflection of how far we've fallen, our acceptance of the bastardization of leadership, where the nation's highest office can, without evidence, malign or damage the reputation of a private citizen or organization. It exposes the deep rot in our system. The protections that allow such behavior are not leadership, they're cowardice wrapped in privilege. Whoa. No leader should be allowed to defame with impunity. Accountability must be personal, not paid for from the people's purse. Wow. Okay. And this text says, if this involves more than registration, it involves copyright and trademark beyond registering a name. Yeah, definitely. It is going to be instrumental in how we do things going forward, without a doubt. All right. Let's take a break. We are going to be back in just a bit. A lot more to talk about on this Friday morning here on Guardian Radio 96.9.
Listen, all you people all around. Listen to the sounds we're putting down. It's very deep, oh yeah, just move your feet.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.
I'm Marcela Sanchez with an AP News Minute. President Trump announced he's ending all trade negotiations with Canada because of a television ad that opposes U.S. tariffs.
Trump says the ad misstates the facts and that Canada's egregious behavior is aimed at influencing U.S. courts. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said he wants to double his country's exports to countries outside the U.S. because of the threat posed by Trump's tariffs. Trump posted on his social media site that Canada fraudulently used an ad featuring Ronald Reagan speaking negatively about tariffs. Trump says that Canada only did this to interfere with the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court and other courts, and that all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated. The Canadian Prime Minister's office didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. Donna Warder, Washington.
And world shares were mixed today. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
You've got your first look at traffic brought to you by RBC. With RBC, your ideas happen here. So we've got the state funeral for the late Von Miller. That is happening this morning at 11 o'clock. And so there are going to be a few traffic diversions as a result of this. You need to keep this in mind if you are on Carmichael Road as the funeral is taking place at BFM. Both lanes between Antigua Street and Bahamas Faith Avenue, Bahamas Faith Ministries, are going to be closed from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. Additionally, from 12 until 1, these streets are going to be closed. JFK Drive between Tonic Williams-Darling Highway and Gladstone Road westbound. Gladstone Road between JFK Drive and Munnings Drive. And Theodore Lane between John F. Kennedy Drive and Tonic Williams-Darling Highway. All vehicular traffic will be diverted from the affected areas, and so keep that in mind if you have to be in that area today or try to find some alternative routes. In your real-time traffic right now, we're seeing heavy traffic on Milo Butler Highway from just north of the Fire Trail roundabout straight up northbound to Tonic Williams-Darling Highway, and some slow-moving traffic just west of Bahamas Games Boulevard if you're heading westbound on Tonic Williams-Darling Highway right now. And elsewhere, we've got some building traffic on Blue Hill Road, north of Soldier Road on the way to Independence Drive if you're heading northbound, and East Street north of Soldier Road on the way to the roundabout with East-West Highway and Independence Drive. Soldier Road north of the Soldier Robinson Prince Charles Drive intersection, heavy traffic northbound to Bernard Wolf and Village. And Marathon Road, which runs parallel to that, also seeing heavy northbound traffic at this hour. We've got pockets along Prince Charles Drive in the major intersections, especially near Beatrice Avenue, westbound. That's your real-time traffic and your morning blend traffic alert, brought to you by RBC. With RBC, your goals happen here. And we've got your final, we got another look at weather for this morning. Hazardous marine and beach conditions will begin today and continue through the weekend. A near gale watch will come into effect for the Bahamas beginning this evening and will continue throughout the weekend. Small craft advisories in effect for all waters. Boaters, especially small craft operators, strongly urged to seek and remain in safe harbor beginning this evening until further notice. So we've got a lot going on. We've got a frontal boundary, a cold front, that continues to sag southwards across the northern Bahamas. That's bringing a few showers along its boundary. And then we've also got moisture associated with Tropical Storm Melissa in the Caribbean Sea. That is spreading northwards across the southeast Bahamas and even parts of the central Bahamas, leading to cloudiness along with showers and thunderstorms. Meanwhile, increasing pressure gradient between the building high pressure and the tropical storm that's going to promote fresh northeast to east breezes, and that's going to result in some gusts to near gale force, especially for the southeast Bahamas today. So quickly with your extended outlook for the weekend for tomorrow, partly cloudy to cloudy conditions for the southeast Bahamas, a 40 to 60% chance of showers and thunderstorms. Elsewhere, just variably cloudy with a 10 to 30% chance of showers. This pattern is going to hold into Sunday. And for Monday, tropical storm conditions are possible for the southeast Bahamas. We're going to have more on this and more on Melissa coming up in our 8 o'clock hour. But that is your Morning Blend weather check. Stay tuned. We'll have more Morning Blend after the news here on Guardian Radio 96.9.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.
jump canoe. Ooh, ooh, 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 jump canoe.
Listen all you people all around. Listen to the sounds we're putting down. It's very neat. Oh yeah, just move your feet and dance. The jump canoe. Now that's right.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strong with you on this Friday morning. In a few minutes, we're going to be getting into our Better You series. We're talking about etiquette when it comes to social occasions like WhatsApp and what stuff you shouldn't do and that you should do, all that stuff that clearly we all need some education on. That's coming up in a few minutes. Lighten things up here on a Friday morning. Later, we kick off our new history series with Clifton Heritage Authority, and we're talking about national heroes, the holiday that we have in effect, and what is a national hero. We're going to have a great discussion with some fine folks this morning. That's coming up. But right now, okay, we just want to quickly get to some other issues in the news. We've been talking about this ruling from the Court of Appeal that is going to allow the world-famous Valley Boys to continue with the judicial review of the decision by the Registrar General. And so the Valley Boys have issued a statement. And let's read that. They issued this statement based on the ruling yesterday from the Court of Appeal. This is the world-famous Valley Boys. You know, you got to be very specific these days. So they are saying... their fonts are really tiny. Why do they use this font? The world-famous Valley Boys Junkanoo Group acknowledges today's ruling by the Court of Appeal of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas in the matter involving the group and the Attorney General. The Court of Appeal has given the Valley Boys permission to challenge the earlier Supreme Court decision. The judges agreed that the issues in this case are important to both the law and our culture, and that the Valley Boys have solid grounds to continue their case. In its decision, the court described it as, quote, beyond belief that unauthorized individuals were able to register one of the country's most iconic Junkanoo groups without proper inquiry by the Registrar General. The judges found that documents were filed after this registration took place, showing a lack of proper checks and compliance with the law. We've been through all that already. Anyway, it says the ruling recognized the group's long-standing participation in national parades and the strength of its history and reputation since 1958. This decision supports what we have been saying all along. The Valley will continue to defend the integrity, legacy, and lawfulness of our organization, founded over 6 decades ago. Preparations for the upcoming parades are well underway. Our members are hard at work creating another unforgettable performance. We thank our members, sponsors, supporters, JCNP colleagues, and the Bahamian public for their continued faith and encouragement. The Valley Boys remain strong, united, and proud. And that's from the Valley Boys communications team. All right. So, Grammy Boy, I guess they're going to continue fighting. And again, as the Court of Appeal says, this is something everybody, NPOs, all organizations need to keep in mind that some rogue or some strange people off the street could just come and take your name and take your identity. If you're not careful. So, again, you can rule for yourself. courtofappeal.org.bs. It is 40 pages. So, yeah. Okay, there is one other thing I want to get to very quickly. Lots of people have been saying this, wondering what would be the situation here with Lauren Saunders, the pregnant mother murdered, 7 months pregnant. People saying this is a no-brainer, right? This should be a double homicide. National Security Minister Wayne Munroe says, no, not quite. And we've seen this before. It has never been the case in the Bahamas where the murder of a pregnant woman counts as a double murder. Take a listen to what he's saying in this report from our Ivani Katut.
Following the murder of 30-year-old Lauren Saunders, a 7 months pregnant mother of two, whose body was found in bushes off Munnings Road, National Security Minister Wayne Munroe sought to explain why a suspect would not be charged with double murder if they are arraigned in court.
Murder is defined as killing a life in being, and that's defined as someone who has an independent circulation from the mother. And over the course of time, we've criminalized behavior. And criminalizing the behavior of causing the death of a fetus or the termination of a fetus is abortion and not murder. Insofar as a death is concerned, I'm outraged at one person being killed. So let's start with the fact that you killed a woman who wasn't involved in anything. Do you really need more than that to be outraged?
However, he noted that if a suspect is tried and convicted, the victim's pregnancy would be considered when deciding on an appropriate sentence.
He would face a murder charge. The facts surrounding his sentencing would take into account that the person he murdered was a pregnant woman.
Saunders was last seen on Sunday afternoon, and her vehicle was later discovered, prompting search efforts in the Coral Harbor and Munnings Road areas. Her partially decomposed body was found on Wednesday morning, sparking outrage and calls for justice for both the mother and her unborn baby. Munroe noted that the death penalty is still part of Bahamian laws.
It is for the Director of Public Prosecutions to charge capital murder, and if they charge capital murder, then to marshal a case to conviction, then to seek the death penalty, and if it's imposed to defend it. The maximum penalty for murder in this country is death. There is no punishment more severe.
The Bahamas last executed a convict in January 2000. Though the death penalty remains law in the Bahamas, the Privy Council in separate rulings established that the mandatory death sentence is unconstitutional and that the death penalty is only lawful if imposed in cases where the murders were the worst of the worst or the rarest of the rare. Here's how Munroe responded to that.
If you charge with capital murder, the first thing you have to do is get the person convicted of capital murder. Once the person is convicted of capital murder, the application of sentence is left to the court. We have a system where we have determined, along with the rest of the free world, except for some authoritarian countries, that the judiciary is to be independent from the executive. So once you charge with capital murder, and the previous administration put that decision on the independent DPP, the DPP will have to charge capital murder, will have to prosecute capital murder, and persuade a judge to impose it.
Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Vonnie Toot.
Okay, really quickly, want to get your reaction to that. Not going to happen that murder of a pregnant woman is considered a double homicide, according to our lawmakers. If they wanted it to be different, they could make it different, but they don't seem to be too interested. But you heard what Wayne Munroe says. Do you really need more than that to be outraged that one person was killed? Well, I don't think that question should be asked of us. It should be asked of the Department of Public Prosecutions and the judges and magistrates. Those people need to be asked that question. But hey, but what do you make of it? Should it change? Should we make them change it? Do you want that to be changed forever? Again, this is not the first time a pregnant woman has been killed, but they don't regard that as a double homicide. But abortion is illegal in this country, which is very strange, very strange. And and based on the language, I don't know how you interpret it, but based on the language there, it doesn't sound like, no matter what, they keep saying it's on the books, death is the highest punishment, but it doesn't sound like it's ever going to happen here. You don't blame the Privy Council for this. This is our lawmakers. They've done things to make sure that that is the case, because many of them do not support capital punishment. But for those of you blaming the Privy Council on it, stop. It's not them. Let's get your reaction to it really quickly, though. 323-623-3252, 325-4316, 325-4259. Call us toll free, 242-300-5720. Really quickly. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, Dwight, sorry to call you back.
That's
Dwight,
fine.
But, I really believe that's a bit insensitive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I say,
which one? Which part?
The part when he spoke about the child not being, the guy wouldn't be able to face charges for two persons, right? Mm-hmm. I believe that's something and then he talk about countries with hey, but Dwight, the point I'm trying to make is we need to change our laws for the time we live in, man. You know, we the laws that we have on our books that these lawyers them are scuttling around with, knowing that these laws are not beneficial to the day's way of life and you know and tragedies that occur. Those laws would be on our books before independence. We should be trying all of our endeavor to change them, to bring them up to the standard, because, like he said, we have some all those countries would don't allow this or don't. I sure they look at if a woman is murdered and she is pregnant, they'll be looked at as two persons rather than one, because if two heart is beating, how a politician could then come to the conclusion that it's only one?
They've done it, and that's what they want. Do you want it to change? You got to make them understand this. When they come knocking on your door over the next few months, tell them this is one of your top priorities.
It needs to change, Dwight, because we have to take life more serious rather than taking finance, right? Because I believe our lawyers, them in this country, only concerned about one thing, and that's the money. But life should worth more than money, right? Because it's life what you need to obtain money, Dwight. Have a nice day.
All right, thanks a lot. Let's take another call really quickly, caller. Good morning. We got about 30 seconds.
Hey, morning, Dwight. Dwight, how you doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, let me read this quick. I think that the laws today are antiquated, right? And it needs to be updated to present time. And second thing, right, I'd like to comment on, I think the public isn't outraged enough based on the fact that people are becoming numb to the crimes that's going on nowadays. Even the media nowadays are becoming numb to what's going on.
No, it's not true. And I don't know what you mean by that and how you would expect the media
not saying. I'm saying that you're not going to take it as serious and be as outraged as you were, like, say, 10, 15, 20 years ago, because the crime is happening so frequently, and these gruesome murders and everything are happening frequently. So that's how come the public isn't outraged as they should be. That's what I'm trying to say.
Sure. Just trying to understand what you mean. The media isn't as outraged.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about like that. I'm talking about if it happened 20 years ago or even 15 years ago, the outrage would have been more. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, the public. The media, I don't know what you're saying. Okay. One final call. Good morning, call. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Dwight. How are you doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, you know, Dwight, Mr. Munroe, and all of those members of Parliament should be sued for what they call it, dereliction or whatever.
What? Why?
Dereliction of what the word is?
Dereliction of duty?
Yeah.
But for what? For what?
They are mandated by the Constitution. Parliament should pass laws for the good governance of this country. And I think that law is for good governance, rather than offering solution and offering and saying that, listen, we will change the law. Don't they have the ability to change the law, Dwight?
They do, but they need to understand how much you really want them to do it. And I don't know if they understand that.
But, you know, because they always go with all of these promises and whatnot.
No. But you've got to make them understand, because people will get outraged for a couple of days and then they move on to where's the rap going to be? I need something to drink.
Right.
So
we can talk and whatnot. They could promise you the world and whatnot. They come with that, you know, they long.
You're not understand what I'm saying. You're not understand what I'm saying. They don't believe that you really want it to change, because when they have the big rally next week, all you want is the food and the drinks and maybe a conversation about a contract. They won't hear anybody say, "What about this?" And so they don't believe you're serious. As a previous caller says, people aren't as outraged as they should be. This will be the story will go away after Saturday, if not before. And that's the thing. So you can't blame them because they don't believe you. One more call. Good morning. You're on the air. Are you there? No? Okay. All right, let's read these messages, and then we'll go to the break. This person says here, have they defined the worst of the worst? Hey, again, it's up to the Director of Public Prosecutions to decide if they want to make it charged as a capital offense. We've heard in the last year, I think one. It might be more, but it's not often. This person says here, is abortion a capital crime? No. Bahamians don't elect MPs to legislate laws. They elect them to fix potholes and give out school bags. Okay, well, that's part of the problem. This person says here, all it takes is for the government to make an amendment to the law to include the murder of an unborn child as a separate offense. Absolutely. This person says here, it's best if it influences the sentencing because 2 convictions will only result in concurrent sentences. That could change too, though. We have to make them say that we don't want that anymore. Right? Or at least have the discretion to not have to sentence people concurrently. And they need to understand how much we don't appreciate this. This person says, do you think that a protest like what the teachers did from outraged citizens will force their hand? It's possible, but you could also tell them every time you see them. Every single time. Hey, how you doing? I want you to fix this immediately as they ask you. Tell them. Do you ever tell them when they come, especially you folks in Golden Isles, when they come around? Are you going to say it to them? Hey, yeah, we need this park fixed, but also, are you going to do that? We got to go to a break, folks. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio. Stay with us. We're going to be back in just a few minutes.
No one likes a fender bender.
Oh, man.
From a little scratch to a full mashup, NUA Insurance has got you covered with auto insurance tailored to fit your needs and budget. For affordable rates with free on-site accident assistance, visit us online or in branch and just ask us. NUA Insurance. Ask us because we've got you covered.
Maybe it's time to explore your options. There's no harm in reviewing your mortgage arrangement and considering a better deal. CIBC Caribbean can help you narrow your search and decide. Switch your mortgage to CIBC Caribbean and enjoy a special interest rate and help towards your switching costs. CIBCFCIB.com/inspired home for more information. Conditions apply.
You try to rest, but roll with the best. For all your printing needs, there ain't no one better, no. For posters and banners, magazines and flyers. For window decals, greeting cards and newsletters. No job too big and there's no job too small. You name it, we can print it, just give us a call. Let Print Masters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.
In the world of business, technology is not a choice, it's a necessity. And for businesses that demand excellence, there's only one choice for unparalleled support and cutting-edge technology. Custom Computers. You have challenges and we have solutions. Computing, networking, storage, and printing for enterprises large and small, aligned with premium brands like HP, Microsoft, Konica Minolta, and more. Get tech done the right way with Custom Computers. Call the Know-How team at 396-1101.
Looking for insurance that fits your lifestyle and your budget? At Star General Insurance, we've got you covered. Whether it's motor insurance with flexible options for third-party liability and comprehensive coverage, or commercial insurance products that protect your business, we have choices you can afford. Own a home or renting? Our home insurance products have just what you need. And for the adventurers out there, we offer marine insurance too. Visit our website or social media pages for contact information and quotes. Star General, insurance made simple.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, talk all day.
Got another check of your weather for today brought to you by Sherwin-Williams. So we've got hazardous marine and beach conditions that are expected to begin today and continue throughout the weekend. A near gale watch will come into effect for the Bahamas this evening and will remain in effect through the weekend. And a small craft advisory is going to be in effect for all areas. Boaters and especially small craft operators are structured to seek and remain in safe harbor beginning this evening until further notice. Residents in the southeast Bahamas are being urged to monitor the progress of Tropical Storm Melissa, currently meandering in the central Caribbean, as tropical storm conditions are quite possible for the southeast Bahamas beginning as early as Sunday into Monday. So the very latest on Melissa that we all need to be keeping an eye on. As of 5 o'clock, Melissa nearly stationary with life-threatening and catastrophic flash flooding and landslides expected in portions of southern Hispaniola and Jamaica throughout the weekend. As of 5 o'clock, Melissa was just about 165 miles southeast of Kingston and 275 miles southwest of Port-au-Prince. Melissa is nearly stationary, but a slow drift towards the northeast and north is expected later tonight. A westward drift is then forecast to begin on Saturday and continue through Monday. On the forecast track, the center of Melissa is expected to move near or just south of Jamaica early next week. Maximum sustained winds are near 45 miles per hour with higher gusts. Gradual strengthening is forecast over the next day or so, followed by rapid intensification this weekend. And Melissa is forecast to become a hurricane by Saturday and a major hurricane by Sunday. Again, tropical storm conditions likely to begin being experienced in the southeast Bahamas beginning Sunday into the start of next week. We'll keep you posted on this, and everyone again needs to be paying very close attention to Tropical Storm Melissa. This weather check brought to you by Sherwin-Williams. If you're ready to refresh your space, head to your local Sherwin-Williams for pre-paint pro tips and everyday deals that make it easy to get started. Let's final look at traffic brought to you by NUA Insurance Agents and Brokers. So a reminder that the state funeral for Von Miller is going to be held this morning. And there are going to be a number of traffic diversions. So beginning at 10 o'clock, Carmichael Road, both lanes between Antigua Street and Bahamas Faith Ministries International is going to be closed to vehicular traffic. Additionally, from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m., these streets are going to be closed. It's John F. Kennedy Drive between Tawny Williams Darling Highway and Gladstone Road westbound. Gladstone Road between John F. Kennedy Drive and Munnings Road. And Theodore Lane between John F. Kennedy and Tawny Williams Darling Highway. So follow all the traffic diversions and avoid these areas if you can this morning. In your real-time traffic, we're seeing some slow-moving traffic at the roundabout with Tawny Williams Darling Highway and Milo Butler Highway, especially if you're heading westbound right now. And some slow-moving traffic on West Bay Street heading into downtown. That's eastbound near Nassau Street and just east of that area onto Bay Street as well. Those are your hotspots right now. It's a real-time traffic and your Morning Blend traffic alert brought to you by NUA Insurance Agents and Brokers. Get a quote however it suits you. Stop by your nearest branch or get an instant motor quote online at NUAinsurance.com. Quick questions or big decisions, they've got you covered.
Don't shop at Sherwin-Williams then. Don't get the best service in the Bahamas then.
The love is really, really strong in Sherwin-Williams. We don't just sell paint. We service you with a smile, good hearts, mind, soul, and body. And we love our customers as much as we love ourselves.
Yes. Real talk.
I'm not just saying this
Real talk.
to impress myself.
We love to go beyond with customer service. So they feel delighted to come in Sherwin-Williams because they know I can either see Dee Dee or one of our other wonderful staff members. We treat our customers with the respect of our boss because there are many paint companies they could choose to go to. No, baby. If they go to some other paint companies, so I gonna get this little thing at the end of the week.
We want to make sure you get that little ting, Shelley. Come visit Shelley and Dee Dee at Sherwin-Williams Bahamas, and you'll surely find colour in every day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
I start by saying, tell me something good, show me something great. What you doing early, what you doing late? Do you think that you could put me in your plan? You invite me over, girl, and bring the drinks. Today I'm gonna be free, so girl, it's up to you. And you already know the things I like to do. I ain't really with the beating around the bush. You already know, so let's go, baby. Tell me how.
We are back with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strong with you on this Friday morning. Okay, so we're changing gears now for a Better You series. Certified life coach Farrell Goff with us as we talk etiquette and habits when it comes to texting, communicating. And Farrell, this is a very timely topic indeed. Good morning.
Good morning, Dwight. Good morning, Bahamas. Always a pleasure to be here.
All right, so tell us what inspired this discussion, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, so WhatsApp, whether we recognize it or not, I mean, WhatsApp has become one of the more prevalent means of communication for many of us, not just the young folks, right? For many of us, particularly, in this part of the world. I think in the States, maybe they use a little bit more of iMessage, and their SMS text is media integrated. So, they don't really, I don't think they use a lot of WhatsApp as much as we do. But in this part of the world, WhatsApp is, we generally communicate now more on WhatsApp than we do in person.
Absolutely.
Even with the people close to us, right? Mm-hmm. Because during the day, we're communicating with them. When you get home, you don't talk as much. You actually converse more on your device through WhatsApp. So
I actually get nervous when my phone rings. I don't
exactly. It's like what? Like who has the audacity to call me?
Right.
It's like it must be a bill collector because they're the only ones still. Anyway.
Always bad news.
Agreed. Mm-hmm. So, but the issue, Dwight, is there's never been really any type of formal, etiquette, protocol, or training around what does good WhatsApp usage look like, right? And not only in personal life, but it's now very much a go-to tool for businesses as well, right? It's just what we do. Automatically transition now to WhatsApp more than email, because a lot of times it may just be a quick message or a quick discussion that needs to be had, and we'd like it a lot more real time than email, right? Email has now become snail mail. Before, the snail mail used to be the post office, right? Mm-hmm. When email came out, now email's into snail mail, because the post office really, that's not really a thing for most of us anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but again, there's never been any type of framework around how do you use WhatsApp professionally and personally in a way that's in line with good communication protocols, mm-hmm. right? So there's generally been a free fall. Everybody feels, I do this and I do that, and this is my phone. So, and even in a business sense as well, there's that general mentality that it doesn't require the same commitment and attention as in-person communication, which I believe is a fallacy.
Okay, so let's get into it, because I mean, even just a couple of years ago, I would, if I had to send a message to somebody, a written message, I would try to text it. If I don't know them, I wouldn't add you as a WhatsApp contact until I'm, comfortable that you are comfortable with it. But that's definitely gone out the window now. I mean, WhatsApp's going to be your first
and that's
means.
the thing. So the thought is with SMS, right? Which is also a form of texting.
Mm-hmm.
It's an older form of texting. I think we have the idea that it's less intrusive, right? It's more akin to sending someone a hybrid email. If I send you an SMS text versus sending you a WhatsApp. WhatsApp is, okay, you're now pushing into we think that, and even we react that way as well when someone we don't know or never spoke to, and you get this like foreign number on your WhatsApp messages. You're like, what? Like, who is this? Like, why? We feel like they're actually now being more intrusive in our personal space than if you were to SMS. But to be honest with you, Dwight, that's just a mindset. They're exactly the same, to be honest. Like in terms
really?
of just in terms of the approach, right? You're still pushing a message to this person's private device, right? Whether it's WhatsApp, whether it's SMS, right? Now, WhatsApp has revolutionized texting, right? It's taken to the next level with the single tick if the message isn't delivered, the double tick if it is delivered to the person's device, and then blue tick if the person has read it, and then WhatsApp went through an evolution with that as well, allowing people now to customize what those ticks look like. Right, so some people have no blue ticks. They don't want. They simply do not want people to know that they've seen your message. Right, because I guess that they feel pressured. Okay, if somebody now knows that I've read the message, then we sit there as well. We're equally as guilty, right? Because we sit there on the other end of it, and we're looking at that blue tick. Like, boy, I sent this person this message how long ago, and they didn't read it. Boy, this person and then our minds. I think WhatsApp has created so much anxiousness around messaging and communicating, and it's completely unnecessary, right?
Do you still have your last seen on yours?
I
you do?
Me personally, because for me, and I mean, there's research around this as well. It's just a preference. Right? There's no right or wrong in that regard, right? I guess is what you're comfortable with. But for me, it's more about I don't want persons to dictate or to kind of make me change something that I may not want to, right? So I don't mind. I mean, I will answer a message when I kind of can answer a message, but I've not changed any of those settings, Dwight. Some people don't have the last seen, they don't have the blue ticks, like so. And one thing I do like about what WhatsApp did is if you change it for other people, it happens to you as well.
Right.
So they created some balance there, right? If you don't get blue ticks, you can't see other people's blue ticks either. But that blue ticking, it creates a tremendous amount of anxiety for people, right? Because you send someone an important message, they read it, and you're like, this person's ignoring me, they're upset, or they're going to have a negative response to it. Or, I mean, especially around important decisions, right? I mean, you're freaking out over there, right? And all the while, the person may have been in a meeting, and they were able to look at their phone, but they weren't able to engage their phone. They have no issues with the message you send, and they're happy to tell you and to respond in the affirmative.
Yeah.
But in your mind, for that hour, you sweating bullets, you freaking out, you start making other decisions and other actions.
Yeah.
So it's that is I personally experienced that. I'm not a robot. Right. So I personally experienced that. And so a few years ago, I had to train myself to take it easy and be like, it is what it is. Like it's you have no idea what's happening on the other side of the phone. You've done all you can do. Your message now. It's just a matter of time, right? And God forbid somebody forget. God forbid somebody forget.
Right, exactly.
Oh my God, you freaking right out. You call, you start talking to other people. Well, you know what's going on with him because I sent him a message and he ain't respond yet. And I think and I believe and oh Lord, must he? Because I do that thing 2 years ago. And your mind just starts racing, right? So
interesting.
WhatsApp is a culture. It's not just a communication application, right? Or texting. It's become a culture for us.
So I want to ask you about this. So with blue ticks, I've run into this a few times with a few people. So they send a message and I see it, I blue tick it, but I mean it didn't warrant a response from me. And I'm like, okay, thank you for that information. But that started a problem. Like you blue ticked me. I'm like, but that was just like a statement of something really obvious. And like, did I have to respond to that? How do you determine, what do you do? Do you have to say thanks, noted, or something to every single thing that you get?
Yeah, so acknowledgement is important. It is really important, right? And again, there's with creating like etiquette, it is no tragic right or wrong. It's just how do you want to communicate? How do you want to be seen as a communicator? How do you want to make the other person feel on the other side of that communication, right? So, I try to hold myself accountable to a pretty high standard of communication, and I don't always get it right. I could admit that, but I do try, right? So, but acknowledgement is important, right? And it's if because it closes the loop, and I believe, and just doing some research, it's an important part again of good communication etiquette, right? If if somebody says to you in person, "Hey Dwight, I got that thing finished for you," I think you won't look them. I don't think you'll stare them in the eye and then just turn around and walk away. I think you'd be like, oh, "Okay, cool, thank you. Okay, noted.
Fine.
Oh, good. I'm glad we got that closed out in person, right?" I believe you would acknowledge that message in person, correct?
Sure, absolutely. Now, if you say to me, "I'm so tired," like, okay, I don't know if I need to respond to that. What do you do?
Well, it all depends. I mean, if it's in the context of someone that you communicate with regularly, or if you were in the process of having a communication or communicating, right? I think it's just that person sharing a feeling or sharing, just something with you to elicit a response from you, right? So, and again, that's a common thing as well.
Right.
Like a common thing is people be like, "Well, I mean, I have
if you're so tired, put down your phone
very good friend
and
who's
go to
doing that,
rest."
Dwight. And I mean, I get blue tick so much, and I mean, I used to be up in my feelings, right? But then I came to realize that it's just their style. It is not indicative of how they felt me or any type of emotion they may be going through at the time. It's just their style of communicating on WhatsApp, right? I like it. I personally don't necessarily take to that style, right? It doesn't necessarily feel good for me. That's why communication, just like in person, it has a lot to do with how the other person feels and how the other person receives it, right? For it to be, a full comprehensive circle of communication, opposed to just delivering, right? Well, it's just how I feel. You're just half of the equation in communication, right? So it can't just be always just how I feel. I read it, man. I mean, I think it needs no response, so I respond. What's the problem? Okay, well, I mean, that is absolutely one approach, right? But it may not necessarily, create an environment where people would say, "Boy, I like communicating with this person. They're a good communicator or healthy." WhatsApp actually should follow the same protocols as in person. Now, WhatsApp can get hot and heavy, right? You could have like 15 open chats that are active at any given time. Well, let's say 6 or 7 at any given time. So it becomes
You're right with the first number, 15, 20, 200.
Yeah, no, so it becomes more difficult to manage those, at a high level of communication, right? Because in real life, I mean, very often you're never going to find yourself, or not often are you going to find yourself speaking to that many people in person at the same time. Usually that's an individual exercise, right? So you can give your all to that single engagement, right? Until you stop and then move to the next one, whenever that may be. But WhatsApp it can be very overwhelming.
Yeah.
And that can lead people sometimes to overlook or say, "Okay, well, I see that message, but man, let me go get to this one more important right now."
Yeah.
So there's a lot to WhatsApp, and really and truly communication has become overwhelming with WhatsApp, which makes it even more difficult, like I said, to follow, good communication protocol.
All right, so I want to ask about the specific issues before we run out of time here, and we'll get to this caller in just a bit. Okay, so time. What do you do with the time when you send a message? What should you know in terms of etiquette, and what's not a good time? When's never a good time to send a WhatsApp? What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, do you remember? So again, if we follow the professional kind of theme, back in the day, you can send an email anytime. You can say, "Mine is 8 o'clock. I'm going to send this now because the person can see it tomorrow morning," right?
Right.
And that was okay. But now that approach has been scrutinized, and you have companies that they'll shut it down. They won't allow you to send an email after 5. You can send it; it'll be held, and then 8:30, 9 o'clock, it would be sent out. And a lot of the email applications allow you to schedule messages, right? So because that has become intrusive, right? Because it's still hitting someone's device, right? So if they have their ringer on or whatever, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, these messages are coming through that are that has no, you have no right sending someone that type of message at that time, right? So then we can kind of extend that to personal as well. With timing, it all depends on the situation. Situational awareness has become even more paramount and more of a priority with WhatsApp than ever before. You got to know. I mean, if this is a professional model, you're not too close to this person, but you guys were talking about something yesterday. You can't send somebody a message at 11 p.m. at night.
Say it again. Say that again, Farrell Goff.
Yeah, no. I mean, because it can create problems, right? It can create issues for people. You know, if they're maybe in a close relationship or something, somebody might be like, well, "What in the world going on with your phone?" But no. Phone privacy is another thing, right? That's a whole other show.
We'll come back.
We can get into, and people ain't like to hear it. You know, especially some of them. Well, I used to say some of them ladies, but some of them fellas out there too, right?
Oh.
Yeah, but no, it's really it's about, a lot of times it's the golden rule, Dwight. How would you want someone to treat you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Would you want that person, to send you that message at that type of time? If the answer is no, leave it, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's not just you. We have to think about communication is actually more on the side of the receiver than the deliverer, right? It's
Okay.
like 75%. Did they understand me? How did they feel? Are we moving in the direction that we wanted to, based off of how the message was received? So it's extremely important that we think about the other person. But WhatsApp happens so fast. And don't get me into this situation where people just delete messages. That's another kind of like almost
You mean the
passive-aggressive.
disappearing messages? That one?
No,
not that one.
Disappearing is one thing. That's people just want to clean their phones so they don't have these build up in the chats. I get that, that's actually helpful to managing the memory of your phone. I'm talking about when people deliberately delete a message, right? They send a message, because you ain't read it quick enough, and it's become so. A lot of these things
Toxic.
now have become weaponized.
Yeah.
Literally. And it's like, come on, man. Like,
absolutely.
But so WhatsApp, I do believe we need more understanding and just general, I wouldn't say training, but some level of understanding that WhatsApp is akin to having conversations in person and should generally follow the same good communication practices.
All right. I got two more questions for you, but let's take this call really quickly. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, morning, Dwight. Guess how you doing?
Doing well. Good morning.
Boy, WhatsApp is a serious thing. You send someone a text and let them do answer that blue text. You know what coming next? That video call. Let you do answer that video call. You know what happened? You better find, if you married, you better find a lawyer, because guess what? She won't off.
Again, just from the timing of some blue ticks on the phone, right?
All right, then. You know what she can tell you? You better go, whoever woman you with, you better go stay with them. That's what I can lead to.
Absolutely. Well, I would think, Farrell,
and there's a lot of men out there watching them blue ticks too. Don't get it twisted. It's not just the ladies.
Right. But video calls during work hours, I mean, that's got to be a no-no, right?
Well, no. Have some people that they love WhatsApp, the video calls. That's how, depending on their relationship with the person, that's how they may communicate predominantly. So it's, and it's up to us, Dwight, to have the maturity and the control to manage people. Sometimes you have to manage other people who may take advantage of that channel with you. You got to say, hey, I know you like to communicate via video chat or video call, but that's not appropriate for me during these hours because I have my work obligation and it can be very distracting. Okay. So can you either message me or let's just communicate when I'm, after 5 or whatever. It's okay. And some people who send you these weird messages late at night and it has like it's a salesperson or it's something to do with something. You can write message them back and say, hey, thank you for this information, but I try to manage my WhatsApp after X time to X time, and just moving forward, could you try to message me within that range, please?
Yeah,
that's all. Sometimes people just need a nudge. They ain't gonna kick up a fight. They're like, oh, okay, you know what, that makes sense. Now I know how to communicate with Dwight moving forward.
All right, really quickly, we've got less than a minute. Somebody's asking about emojis.
Weapons.
Oh, really?
Just scuds and missiles and rockets and machine gun AK-47s. No, but also too, emojis. They for the younger folks, they remove words, right? So it's kind of frustrating sometimes communicating to a young person because it's just they don't use full words or full sentences anymore. Right, so it's a tool that they use, and it's totally appropriate for them as long as they understand.
Well, I mean,
but you gotta know
I love emojis, Farrell.
You got to know when. You got to know when and where, though, Dwight. And what emoji?
The poop emoji is one of my favorites. I got to tell you, Because some people,
I'm sure we could
really,
dig into that.
Yeah. This person's asking, what about WhatsApp? How it allows you to be added to groups? What should you?
I really believe WhatsApp should change that, and they did that probably for popularity, just so they can have that proliferation of people using the group chats and stuff. But they really should ask. It really should be, and they should not. Two things, Dwight, with groups. There should be a request that's approved before you 100%, and when you leave a group, it should not be broadcasted across the entire group.
Yeah.
That is almost shaming, preventing people from leaving groups.
Right.
So that's another. That's a whole other thing, Dwight. It's the group culture on WhatsApp.
It's terrifying.
Right, and people stalking, people out in these groups not participating and just looking and screenshotting people's comments, and there's a lot to WhatsApp. That's why it's so important early on for us to kind of just better understand good WhatsApp communication protocols.
I've got a colleague who refuses to use WhatsApp.
For what reason?
I do, just for her own sanity. But I get it. But sometimes she's losing out on all the great memes and all the good,
and don't get me started, Dwight, when I see
videos.
people's phones and they got like 30 messages unread in their WhatsApp. I'm like, what?
You don't have to throw a rock at me, Farrell. But hey, we really appreciate this. We could definitely do a part 2 on this.
For sure.
Thank you so much, Certified Life Coach Farrell Goff, our Better You series. Hopefully this will help you to become a better you. And we'll talk with you again in a few weeks.
Definitely.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dwight.
All right. We're going to take a break for news. When we come back, we're very happy about this history series. Chris Davis has been talking about this for a long time. We're finally going to get into it today. Our partnership with Clifton Heritage Authority. You don't want to miss it. We're talking about national heroes. So much to discuss. Coming up after the break. Stay with us. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9.
Now I'm kissing you, touching you, freaking you over at your house. Cause girl, we started on the phone, now we're face to face. Start a little slow, now pick up the pace. Everything I told you I was gonna do, I did it well, except we didn't get to drain your body.
No one likes a fender bender.
Oh, man.
From a little scratch to a full mashup, NUA Insurance has got you covered with auto insurance tailored to fit your needs and budget. For affordable rates with free on-site accident assistance, visit us online or in branch and just ask us. NUA Insurance. Ask us because we've got you covered.
Don't wait for a storm to arrive. Stock up on hurricane supplies, make home repairs, purchase a generator and more this hurricane season with a Fidelity personal loan. Make that move today. Call 356-7764.
Fidelity, we're good for you.
Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Street, has those hard-to-find fasteners for you right now. You can find stainless steel regular hex, carriage bolts, galvanized bolts, threaded rods, nails, self-tap screws, sex bolts, anchor bolts, turnbuckles, masonry tools, hand tools, and weed whacker strings. Check out the rope selection and car body fasteners, too. Special orders are welcome. It's your #1 fastener store. Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Streets. Call 326-1976.
Craving something with bold flavors? Introducing the new Bacon Portobello Mushroom Melt, only at Wendy's. Enjoy our hot, juicy beef stacked with crispy applewood smoked bacon, savory sauteed portobello mushrooms, and drenched in our rich, melty cheddar cheese sauce, all on a warm, toasted bun. Gotta be craveable, gotta be Wendy's. Available for a limited time only.
Are you searching for something new? Something exciting? Your dream job in paradise? Well, look no further. Royal Beach Club Paradise Island is hiring. Join a dynamic group of passionate hospitality professionals, craft unforgettable moments, and thrive in a vibrant, welcoming atmosphere. Play your part in shaping the future of our team while growing your own career every day. Bring your energy, your passion, and your creativity to a world as dynamic and fun as you are. At Royal Beach Club Paradise Island, the opportunities don't just exist. They're limitless. So are you ready to find your perfect fit? Visit Royal Beach Club at paradiseisland.com/career today and step into a world of exciting possibilities.
Planning for retirement can be overwhelming, but with CFAL, it doesn't have to be. We offer tailor-made individual, group, and pension solutions that take the guesswork out of retirement planning. Whether it's for you or your company, don't leave your future to chance and let the trusted hands of CFAL's experts guide you toward peace of mind and financial stability. Low upfront costs and affordable monthly payments make it easy for you to build wealth so you can live well. Visit us at cfal.com to start on your path toward financial freedom. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Blend Business on this Friday, October 24th, 2025. Welcome back to our Morning Blend listeners. This morning we are kicking off a new series. Every fourth Friday we're going to be doing a special history series with Clifton Heritage Authority. Very happy to be doing this. Christopher Davis and I have talked about this for a very long time, and so I was glad to see it is officially underway here, and very happy to have Christopher Davis with us, along with Joanna Parker, and also joining us, adjunct history professor with UB, Sasha Wells. Good morning. Great to have you all with us today.
Yes, thank you, brother.
All right, so today we are talking about national heroes and the holiday. What is a national hero? Everything. And this is timely after we just celebrated National Heroes Day a few days ago. But before we get into it, why do we feel this was a good topic, an interesting one to explore today?
Well,
let's tilt that mic up just a little bit for us there.
There we go. Yeah, well, this wasn't always called National Heroes Day.
Right.
It was called Discovery Day. Before that, and it was essentially meant to celebrate Christopher Columbus. I don't know if Ms. Wells could hear in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, okay, there you go. Okay, because I wasn't sure if you want, but I'll let Ms. Wells elaborate on that a lot more.
Yeah, Sasha Wells.
So Christopher Columbus was not celebrated when he first landed in the Americas. It wasn't until Charles V decided to expand the lore of the Spanish that they wanted to publicize Columbus Day and the discovery of the Americas. So they started to push that.
Around what time would that have been?
1520s, 1530s.
Okay.
But Christopher Columbus Day wasn't officially celebrated until 1792. But there's like a buildup of the celebration of Columbus and Christopher Columbus Day. But the celebration really started to reach its peak on the 400th anniversary, so 1892, and that is because Italians and Irish in the U.S. were really pushing for Columbus Day. They embraced Columbus. partly because that allowed them to claim this idea of whiteness that Columbus was representing during this time. And Columbus Day was also celebrated in the Bahamas as well during this period. I did a little bit of research in the newspapers, and people were searching for particularly the Columbus statue that used to stand in front of Government House, the origin of it, and like why it was erected. And so Columbus Day has evolved, and it wasn't until 2001, under an F&M administration, the National Heroes Act was brought up. Unfortunately, it didn't go anywhere. So it wasn't until 2006, under a PLP administration, that the National Heroes Act was brought up again. And then it did pass, and it was officially signed into law in 2013.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So now I know this is controversial. We know now, not what they taught us in school, about how awful Christopher Columbus was and all the terrible things that have come about as a result of this encounter. But I've always wondered, with the significance for the Bahamas, did we need to entirely disavow ourselves with Discovery Day? Could it have been repackaged in another way so that the history part of it, the historical aspect of it, could have been preserved in some way? Yeah, well, what all of your opinions on that?
Well, if you don't mind, I'll just hop right in there. Well, for me, first of all, Discovery is erroneous, right, in the first place. And we know what Christopher Columbus and many of those conquistadors did, setting the foundation of white supremacy, this sort of whitewashed version of globalization and this falsity of the Columbian Exchange where they claim that Europeans came and civilized people. So all of this is attached to that. Mm-hmm. And from our perspective here in the Bahamas, we have to put certain things into the common vernacular globally, things like the Lucayan genocide. And remember that it took them just one generation to wipe out the indigenous people of the Bahamas. Yeah. By the way, the word Bahamas comes from their language, other words like barbecue and all of that. So certainly it's not to just do away completely with acknowledging what happened, but it needs to be done within the right context. Right. And particularly what needs to be completely removed is any sort of overtly positive or erroneous portrayal of that, like using terms like Discovery Day, Columbus Day. For me, I would have actually chosen, from BIM perspective, Lucayan Day. Wow. Right? That's my personal opinion. But at the same time, I still support National Heroes Day for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Ladies, your views on this?
All right.
Joanna?
As emerging researchers and scholars, there's been a shift away from this sort of meta history and talking about sort of the larger goals of the imperialists and the colonialists to look more at the history of the people from below or subaltern history. Right. So like Dave mentioned, Discovery Day eliminates so much of the story of the people who were living in the islands, and the indigenous people of the Americas in general that were heavily impacted by colonialism, represented by the landing of Columbus in the initial wave of colonization. So I think when we sort of look at history, we're trying to give this sort of full-bodied picture of what happens during the encounters, the impacts, and the effects. And I think focusing too much on the landing of Columbus sort of obscures a little bit of that. So I'm glad we pulled back to look at a fuller picture of history, and that impacted how we memorialize the day.
But are we doing that? Are we doing that in the year since we moved away? At Clifton. Yeah, certainly. Outside of Clifton, it feels like we don't talk about it much anymore. I don't know if that's just my perspective, but what do you all think? Have we lost it?
I think we definitely head in the right direction. Much of what we're speaking about now is sort of included in this new historical curriculum in the new BGCSE textbook. Yeah. I'm happy to say I actually wrote the chapter on colonization, conquest, and capitalism. So contextualizing all of this and moving away from presenting colonization in the Bahamas is some great thing. In general, it's the way that we're moving and you hear it from the general public. You get it from students when we have students come at the park. And of course, the Clifton Heritage Authority, me and Miss Parker and others like Miss Wells, who we brought in on our show today. Another brilliant scholar, like-minded, the new generation, if you will. So even if we got to drag the people along, I think this is the way forward, for sure.
Sasha Wells, your views?
Yeah, I think it's like my colleagues said. It's about context and about context of Columbus Landing. There was already a long history of Indigenous people in the Americas before Columbus came here. So he wasn't discovering anything. He just happened to land in a place where people already live.
Yeah.
So I think it's about remembering that and then remembering all the destruction that came after his arrival. So we can remember his landing and how it speaks to genocide, colonization, like my colleagues were saying. So it's less about celebrating and more about remembering, and then why are we remembering?
Yeah. So do we need to go the way that some other countries have gone, removing any reference to him? I think we still have a school named after him and a few other places.
Oh, well, well, for me, I've actually already put forward out in the pipeline. They can put it out there nationally. And you could say it's coming from the Clifton Heritage Authority in a sense. But certainly, I think, without removing the history completely, but recontextualize, but we should certainly not have a primary school named after Christopher Columbus, particularly one that's right in the heart of the epicenter of Junkanoo. So I think you could guess who I say we should name that school after. I think we should name that school after Junkanoo. It's right in between the Big Harbor, the Valley Boys, and the Saxons, both Valley Boys and the Saxons, right? So for me, why not just name it after Junkanoo the first, you know? And I would take that further into renaming some of the institutions, streets, and all of these things that are named after our British colonial masters as well, who have had a more personal effect on us as the African diaspora here in the Bahamas.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we sort of talked about when we were preparing to come here is sort of the social forces that push this transformation away from celebrating our colonial legacy rather than critically viewing it. And so I think as we shift the tone of education around colonial legacy, we'll see more of a wider public push for shifting away from these street names. A lot of people don't actually know why they're named that way, who we're remembering. Every time we call these people's names, Shirley Street, Blue Hill Road, etc., we're calling their names back from history into the present. And so I think as we educate people on how these things are tied into colonial legacy and they start to question what it means to honor or remember those people, then, because we're sort of in the academic world, but the wider public has to start question why we're remembering these people.
And some of them had questionable past, right?
Oh, yes.
More than questionable. That's a whole nother show. We talk about the national heroes today. We can talk about national villains too on another show.
Villains, wow. Okay. All right, so we're already getting a text, though, saying that we're burying our heads in the past, trying to forget it. That's not what it is. But just expanding education on it, basically. Well, you put it in your own words. What do you say to people who say, get over this, this is the past, that's what happened, you can't run from it?
Well, I would typically have harsh words for people who think like that, but I won't go there today on your show.
Woke discussions. Oh, boy.
Yeah, so, and they like to use victim mentality, they use that term, they conflate all these things. So first of all, having that mentality and your history and moving on from it, it's virtually impossible. You know, if you could even view our time here at the African diaspora in the Bahamas as a human body with a very traumatic beginning in childhood, the only way to deal with that and to get over that is to move, you know. But it's so funny how when you look at these things and people try to pretend that history does not have an effect on today. You know, there's a reason why there's huge wealth disparity along racial lines in the Bahamas, right? There's a reason why the undesirables in the Bahamas tend to live in our quote-unquote inner city communities, and I'm talking about migrants from our brothers from the south, and they actually, you could parallel it, and they live in the same places where displaced/liberated Africans were. Along Michael Road, Adelaide, these are the same places. So if we want to get into these conversations.
Never thought of it like that.
Right, no, we can't. So
Lord.
for someone to talk about get over these things, where we still bear the same last names and all of these things, is the ultimate actual victim mentality, to just utterly conform. And for me, given all that has happened, and given the context of everything, and we don't have to dwell on all of the brutality that happened in the Bahamas or anywhere, violence was needed to enforce chattel slavery. But the fact that people would just say to move on and don't even acknowledge that, well, some people might have a right to hold a little bit of resentment, or even at least question or criticize what was done to our own ancestors. All people of African descent in the Bahamas, all, not some, all, were descended from people who were enslaved and or exploited in the worst ways possible by European nations and European institutions that existed here in the Americas. I have a lot more to say, but I'll end my part there, because I know my colleagues have some stuff to say too.
Yeah,
Sasha?
it's not about burying your head in the sand or rewriting history. It's about changing the lens with which we are viewing our history, taking away the focus from great men, from the white elite, and looking at Black Bahamians' history, looking at, as my colleague said, the subaltern history, which just basically means those at the very bottom of the social sphere. So changing the view to see what their life was like, to see how they would have viewed their history. And that is very different from a lot of the current historical narratives that are going on in the Bahamas during this time.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. So the day now is National Heroes Day. But even that is controversial. Who is a national hero? Who should be a hero? What are we using to determine who should be recognized and in that way?
And just to sort of piggyback off of that, when we deal with history in a different way, it helps us to answer that question differently. Right. How do we sort of venerate people whose impact has not been as devastating and as tragic, and they've made such a positive contribution? If we deal with it differently, that is how we arrive to a different definition of what a hero is. And I know my colleague has some great thoughts on that, so I'll just throw it over.
Yeah, right. So, first of all, when you talk about a national hero, national icon, those that receive national honors, I think that there are certain spaces that no one would probably argue with, right? And that are acknowledged. So if we talk about athletes, right? You could even talk about someone like Dorian, who has a very checkered past, to put it gently. You know, he was very close with the United Bahamian Party and those that imposed certain racial restrictions on our ancestors, right? But at the same time, he was an outstanding athlete, and he achieved that. So in the world of sport, you know, he does deserve, of course, national recognition. And then when you look at those like Shawnee Miller, Weibo, I could call one, I could predict the future on one right now, the new VJ Edgecombe, you know. Already. You know, I go in there, I'm a Philly fan already. That's another thing, right? Right. But then you have the other side of those who fought for racial justice by, let's say, by using the proverbial pen, right? So you would have someone who, again, are also complex characters. We have to get out of this idea that these heroes are like superheroes. Remember that these heroes are humans and flawed in some way. But at the same time, when you look at people like, say, Lyndon Pinland, Marlo Butler, Cecil Wallace Whitfield, because of their political contributions and their contributions to democracy, racial equality, and the like, in our modern history, some may argue, but at the end of the day, most will give them their proverbial flowers. But then there's the other side that is only now beginning to be acknowledged, right? So you see that this year we had Pompey Roll. The year before it was, of course, Kate Moss. And then before it was Dr. Joseph Robert Love, right? Now, these are the people that fought for African liberation, right? Both locally and globally. Pompey was the leader of a revolt of enslaved people in Exuma that pretty much set the foundation, in my view, for what we call generational property today, right? Then you have, of course, Kate Moss, and Kate Moss, and there are several in other shows, several others, but those that actually lost their lives in the liberation struggle in the Bahamas.
Has there been any pushback about this? So people who don't get it, who don't understand?
I wouldn't say pushback, but they just have to learn. Me, myself, a lot of it is sort of my seminal research. So for me, I'll begin it in 1734 with Kwamino, who was African warrior, might have been a hunter, but we know he was certainly from the Gold Coast, who attempted a revolution in 1734, full scale, to free all African people here in the Bahamas. And his first victim of that revolution was going to be Richard Fitzwilliam. And as a result, they say, well, let's build the governor a nice house on top of the hill. And what is that hill called? Mount Fitzwilliam. He was a man that lost his life in the liberation struggle. Or you could talk about the 5 people that lost their lives in 1942 during the Burma Road uprising, after Stafford Sands himself actually encouraged the police officers and the military personnel and some of the militia that were there, was actually encouraging them to shoot and kill some of the leaders. And of course, some of those people were killed, and there were 5 during the Burma Road uprising. Not riot. See, this is why line is important. Riot is when Manchester United lose a game against Liverpool and they go out in the road and break up some cars. An uprising is something that is a concerted effort of these issues that have gone on for generations, right? To resist a real problem.
Wow. Okay, let's take a quick break and we're going to deal with this mic that keeps falling. We'll pick this up on the other side. We are talking with Christopher Jonquan Davis and Joanna Parker with the Clifton Heritage Authority and adjunct history professor with the University of the Bahamas, Sasha Wells. We've got some calls coming in, some text messages. You've got some people worked up. We'll get to that in a bit as we continue a discussion on national heroes and how to recognize and celebrate them. This is Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9.
At CFAL, we understand that a secure future is the greatest gift you can give your employees. That's why our tailor-made group pension solutions are designed to fit the needs of both large and small companies. With CFAL, you can provide the retirement you and your employees deserve, ensuring peace of mind and financial stability for years to come. Join the many businesses that have already entrusted CFAL to be the right pension plan for their employees, and let us help you build a brighter future for your team. Visit us at cfal.com to get started on building wealth so you can live well. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
Southwest Plaza has so many stores, I've been trying to find a sensible way to list them all. There's CBS Bahamas, the Ashai Institute, BENC Snack World, Bamboo Shack Bahamas, there the Athlete's Foot and BTC, Games and More, John Bull Fine Threads, Alive, Bahari, Dairy Queen, 700 Wines and Spirits, Sandy's Clarkson Island Lock, Starbucks and Lowe's Pharmacy, plus Marco's Pizza and Lorraine. Southwest Plaza, what a wide array of stores. Southwest Plaza, stop by today and explore.
This October, Bahama invites you to indulge your senses at the Culinary and Arts Festival, where world-class flavors meet breathtaking creativity in the heart of the Bahamas. Join us October 22nd through 26th for an unforgettable celebration featuring culinary legends Marcus Samuelson, Dario Cicchini, Simeon Hall Jr., and Scott Conant, alongside a vibrant lineup of chefs and mixologists. Explore captivating art installations, interactive workshops, and live performances, all set against the stunning backdrop of Nassau's premier luxury resort. From curated tasting events to beachfront feasts and immersive gallery experiences, this is more than a festival. It's a feast for the soul. Tickets and packages are going fast. Visit bahamar.com to reserve your spot at the Culinary and Arts Festival at Bahamar, where taste and talent take center stage.
Need for a storm to arrive? Stock up on hurricane supplies, make home repairs, purchase a generator, and more this hurricane season with a Fidelity personal loan. Make that move today. Call 356-7764.
Fidelity, we're good for you.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Hello, sir, hello. We're about to sing about you. Sir Lyndon Oscar Penley. We love you, we do. To some, he was was a brother. Oh, to many he was a friend. The father of the nation. He called him King now and then.
We are back with the Morning Blend Business, our new monthly history series with the Clifton Heritage Authority. We've got Manager of Education, Joanna Parker, and Manager of Research, Tours, and Heritage is a long title, Christopher Jonquat Davis. We also have adjunct history professor at the University of the Bahamas, Sasha Wells, with us. We're talking about national heroes today. That's what the topic is. Let's take this call, and then we'll get back into our discussion. Caller, good morning. Are you still there? Yep, call us back. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. And you can call us toll-free, 242-300-5720. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, Christopher.
Morning.
Good. Always good to hear you on the air, enlightening vehemence with the history. And as much as I like to hear, about our national heroes and the real history of what people like the Europeans and Columbus did, I feel like, especially when I started to travel and get more exposed, from Africa into Asia, just got back from Spain, and a lot of history is buried in Spain. I feel it's what makes a city vibrant, especially like us, an economy surrounded by tourism. It's the story you tell it.
Right.
And the story you telling, I know we don't need to celebrate Columbus. We don't need it, but we can omit them from the story of how the actual us, how Bahamians formed this great nation now. And I think he plays a pivotal role,
certainly,
and a negative in that.
Yeah.
From the transition from, because we were under the Europe, under Britain. Spain was Columbus, and just how our country, this country fell in the hands of people from Europe, from London, England, from Spain, getting it from Spain, and now where we have it now. That story has to be told,
right.
And Columbus is actually in that story. But what I wanted to ask you guys a question. We can take down the monument of Columbus. That's fine. I mean, but we could put it someplace else, so that tourists can have an opportunity, or whoever, children, opportunity to see exactly what he did. But if about that, he's at a place where I think our biggest oppressors were that government house and those House of Assembly, those particular things that represent the same thing, which Columbus. We can't put a measurement on what he did compared to what they did, because I think every time I drive through town, I see the history of the Bahamas right in that square, and then it's there,
Right.
But I enjoying the conversation, Dwight. I think we need to do more of this.
Yeah.
And this is where Bahamians can get the education they need to form their own realities that exist in relation to our heritage.
Thank you very much. Hopefully it's just the beginning of our monthly partnership, and maybe it'll be expanded beyond that. Let's take this call really quickly. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning to Brother Davis and his colleagues. I think that this is a very important national conversation. I congratulate you, Dwight, and Guardian Radio for bringing on such a series. Our true history have to be inculcated into every aspect of our fiber, particularly in our educational system. I am happy to learn, finally, that the Ministry of Education have come up with a curricula that will reflect a little bit of our true history. And I understand, Mr. Davis, to say that there is a book that has been completed, that is being used in the system. I'm still trying to get a copy of that book so that we could see what actually is in the book, but that's the first step. With regard to the National Honors Awards, Dwight, I am completely disgusted by the way it is being rolled out, because it has bastardized what we try to achieve with it. First of all, we must abolish the foreign awards. That has to happen in order to give credibility to what we say is the highest honor in our country. Unless we do that, we will always be second class, because the average Bahamian would always put that as a more desired achievement than our national awards. And secondly, the current dissemination of those awards have diluted the value of it. Every person almost who have a government job who's being paid seems to be honored. It makes absolutely no sense. But that's another story for another day.
I want them to respond to this. Thank you very much, Freddie. Really appreciate it.
Yes.
All right. So that was going to be the next question. How do you recognize a national hero? What's the best way to do it? Are we doing it the right way?
I think it's important to realize that it's a tiered system, first of all, right? So now I agree 100%. I call him Uncle Fred, Mr. Munnins. I agree 100%, but because I think what he was implying is like, the sirs and the dames and all of these things, and our colonial masters using that as some measure instead. I agree with him 1,000% with that. But also, not that I disagree with him, but remember that the national honor system is a tiered one. So when you say national hero, we talking about people like Pompey, late leader of a slave revolt, set the foundation for generational property. Right, Dr. George Johnson, one of the first women, significant politicians, suffragette, you know what I mean? Kate Moss lost her life in her own struggle for freedom and influenced the abolition movement in Great Britain, right?
Nation builders as well.
And not that I'm trying to measure our people like that, but let me just call a recent one, like a Gail Saunders, who's no longer with us, and let's call one that's still alive today, like a Philip Ramming, right? So Philip Ramming, of course, did the National Pledge, which is a solid contribution, and again, it's not to diminish him, and of course, he is still around. But when you look at someone like Kate Moss, who literally lost her life in the most brutal way, and then it led to influencing abolition for many nations across the Caribbean, it's easy to see. So this national hero thing, though it might appear that because you see a lot of people receiving awards, but you have to pay attention to the tiers of those awards. And then you have to remember now, you have people who might have been influential in this one area, extremely influential, who also, in my opinion, deserve recognition. But this is why I think the fault is getting the community more involved, right? So then you can have Grammy from Step Street, who used to take care of all these fellas, who, for whatever reason, who used to feed everyone around there. And, you have a Miles Munroe, who was another one who was recently, well, not so recently, but received national honors, but not as a full-fledged national hero, right? So right now, we're talking about national heroes. So these are the people who I don't think anyone could sort of disagree with in their sort of national hero, and that represents the sort of pinnacle. Those who shed their own blood for freedom, and those who made profound influence in changing the Bahamian society for the better, right? And some of those, whether we want to admit it or not, might be some of the same politicians we tend to resent today, particularly in this sort of season. But we have to remember and know our history, and know that even some of these same politicians and people high up in whatever position, we all sort of come from the same place when you really look at our history. Now, neocolonialism is another thing, but we must not conflate what's happening now with what was happening in the past, right?
So it's really interesting because you said two things, and I want to sort of reiterate for the listeners. So we want, at the end of the show, for people to grapple with the idea of what a hero is. There is a legal definition that's outlined in the Act for how the awards are honored or how you're considered for certain awards. But, at Clifton and through our research, we really want to get deeper into what we consider a hero or icon, what you consider a hero or icon, and how we remember your work. Because for us, a lot of it is about your contribution, but also recognizing your humanity and where did you rise above to contribute in ways that other people benefit from. So our mandate is really about the park and the site, but also about what the park and the site represent. And how does your work align with what it represents? Did you contribute to our cultural legacy? Some people may not be intellectual, but they are great artists.
Right.
And they contributed to our cultural legacy, our literary heritage. They were inspirational, or they were nation builders. And all of those stories contribute to the fabric that is the Bahamas.
All right, so let me ask you this. Along the lines of what Freddie was talking about, and you mentioned it, Chris, that it's a tiered system, but people are looking at the numbers, like, 400, 500 people, not paying attention to the ones who are named heroes.
Right.
What can we do to get people out of that, to really focus on who's at the top here, being named a hero, and learn more about those folks?
Right. So
and first, is that too many people? 400.
Some are getting like the Order of the Merit, companion of, but the top ones are usually announced. The top ones are usually announced, and then you see that list.
Right.
But the lists are usually people who have contributed in fields.
Right.
Specific fields.
Right. Yeah. So remember, it's only each year it's just one national hero, right? So let's look at another place who has done very well in promoting their culture and their history. Jamaica, right? They have so many people. Even when you just look at the Maroon leaders, right? But every Maroon leader is not a national hero, right? Because that's like the highest honor, but they have all received national recognition. And then based on the place or the province within Jamaica that they are. So in St. Mary, as a matter of fact, where other hunters that do Junkanoo went to, their big Maroon leader at one point was a man called Taki, right? General Taki. So in that area, Taki is the man, but Taki is not seen as a national hero on the same level as a Queen Nanny. So it just requires us to do more. There's a lot of information about these people now, so you could look at Pompey Road. I've written about him in my book. I have, videos on YouTube where I spoke about him. I worked at Pompey Museum for a long time. Kate Moss is all over. You could actually write on Google and download the entire file and court report, essentially, of what happened to her, and you could learn what happened. And like I said, but in my opinion, everybody, with the exception of two people, I'll keep that to myself for now, who has received this national honors sort of title, whether officially or unofficially, for the most part deserves it. For the most part deserves it.
Now they contributed.
Right. Nationally now. Now the debate is, or I guess on the lower level, but then you always have certain things getting in it. So if someone is made a hero of Junkanoo and they come from a specific group, you might have others from the other group saying this, or if one come from the Free National Movement, then the PLP might say, So there is that aspect to it. You even see it in sports. If the New York Yankees get a Hall of Fame inductee, please believe LA Dodgers trying to have one get put in at the same time.
Definitely. All right.
So,
We're running out of time. Let's take this call really quickly, and then we'll have your final words. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Christopher Davis, Philip Edward Brave. Davis is a hero for dignity and humanity to all in these Bahama Islands and the PLC. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We want to take this one really quickly. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. Question: is Mr. Ingram considered a national hero? Because bear in mind, we only could have these conversations based on what he did with ZNet.
Right.
He opened their way. So would he be considered
only?
a national hero?
Okay.
Based on that?
That's interesting. Well, thank you very much. Let's get your reaction to that.
Well, my personal opinion is taking all partisan politics is completely apolitical. I would certainly say in the end that it is sometimes, particularly when you're dealing with political figures, time has to pass. I'm pushing 40. I can't give you all my exact age, but I'm pushing 40 right now. I could remember a time when Hubert Ingram, his last term, everyone seemed like everyone was against him. You understand? But over time, I think that hindsight is 20/20, as they say, and I think that at the end, most of our, or probably all of our former prime ministers will end up becoming national heroes, or at least receiving the one right under to a certain degree. And as for Hubert Ingram, of course, he represents democracy in the Bahamas. When Bahamas decided to turn away from the progressive liberal under Cecil Wallace Whitfield's sort of vision, but then under Ingram's leadership, he then took on the mantle and was able to do it. And to this day, despite us being in our silly season, we have an extremely healthy system of democracy here in the Bahamas, where we could call in any show and talk about anybody we want to talk to, within reason, of course. We could express our opinions, and ain't no political party getting retaliation and all of that. Our elections are fair and free. We do get divisive at times, but there's no political violence at any appreciable level in this country. And so that's something we all, from all people, have to pat ourselves on the back
Absolutely,
for. Yeah.
absolutely. All right, so we're going to be expecting more conversations like this over the series and get delving into some topics that might be a little sensitive for some, I can imagine.
Certainly.
But definitely need to be had. The conversations need to be had. Thank you so much. Let people know again how they can find you all and what they need to know about Clifton Heritage.
Well, me, you can follow me, John Canoe II, on Instagram or anything like that. But you could just call us at Clifton Heritage National Park. You could Google it. All of the numbers are there. And you can make a booking to come and get a heritage tour. You could have a special request just to have one with me specifically, and I'll make myself available. I'll let Ms. Parker...
Thank you so much. And we do have our enhanced education programs, which launched on the 6th of October. Okay. And so you can bring your classes out and your groups out and enjoy a fun-filled educational day at the park. And those are between Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. And so we welcome students learning about the Lucayans, the African experience at Clifton, as well as colonialism and emancipation. So
chunk canoe, rake and scrape, the whole nine.
Everything. And Sasha Wells, we hope to have you on quite often during this series as well. Thank you for being here with us this morning.
Thank you for inviting me. I've had a wonderful time.
Thank you very much, Christopher, Joanna, Sasha. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Dwight.
Everybody have a great, safe week. Be sure to pick up today's Nassau Guardian for the Guardian Business section. This portion of the show brought to you by CFAL, growing CFAL, and tune in for CFAL Talks every Monday at 6:30 p.m. on Guardian Radio. Stay tuned for On the Clock with Aaron Green next.
Oh, the 22nd day of March, a baby boy was born and started a freedom march from 1967 to 1973. He served as first black premier of the Bahama Islands colony.
It's time to upgrade the way you enjoy at-home entertainment. Alive Fiber is here. Enjoy all your favorite channels and streaming apps, all at lightning-fast internet speeds with affordable bundles, and it's only a click away. Visit www.alivefiber.com to sign up now. Stay connected, live your life. It's good to be alive.
Planning for retirement can be overwhelming, but with CFAL, it doesn't have to be. We offer tailor-made individual, group, and pension solutions that take the guesswork out of retirement planning. Whether it's for you or your company, don't leave your future to chance and let the trusted hands of CFAL's experts guide you toward peace of mind and financial stability. Low upfront costs and affordable monthly payments make it easy for you to build wealth so you can live well. Visit us at cfal.com to start on your path toward financial freedom. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
You try to rest, but with the best. For all your printing needs, there ain't no one better, no. For posters and banners, magazines and flyers. For window decals, greeting cards and newsletters. No job too big and there's no job too small. You name it, we can print it. Just give us a call. Let Print Masters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.